this right, dude. I never use this. This is my first time. Oh, here we go. Okay, I think we're live. I think we're good. I think we're on.
I'm going to check the stream right now. Yep. Looks
awesome.
good.
Awesome. I am definitely new to this whole StreamYard thing. So welcome everybody, whoever's watching. Appreciate y'all being here. This is episode 42 now of the Sit Down with Cameron Gaming. This is like part 3 of our long little series of, getting things hashed out when it comes to religion, faith, and opinions about both. And
a little bit of philosophy.
A little bit of philosophy, a little bit of questions. For the first time, I'm going to open up the panel for the guests too, so you'll guys be able to join up, chime in, give your 2 cents later, maybe in about like the hour mark or so. But for now, we're going to continue from where we left off. I know you said we talked before the stream that you'd be interested in maybe answering some questions, but I want to make sure we covered everything that I might not be thinking of that's on your mind first. I want to be courteous because I've had some pretty interesting conversations. I don't know if you saw some of the reactions on TikTok. It's starting a lot of discussion.
I haven't seen yet. No. So I don't have TikTok, so you're gonna have to text me some of those.
All right, I got you. Yeah, I'll show you some of the.
I might have.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So anybody watching, and for him to just look up the weekly sit down clips. And yeah, you'll have a good time with those.
I'll have to re-download TikTok, but then I'll check them
unfortunately, out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I know that's not the most exciting thing, but
I only had it for my YouTube channel. I never used it personally, so
no,
I'm a YouTube guy. Yeah.
Same. I'm not like the biggest fan of it, but got to get with the times in order to push the stuff out there. You know how it is. Yeah.
Quick growth.
Yeah. So I think. We're up everywhere. So Twitch, leave a like, YouTube, same thing, X and Kick. So, but yeah, where'd you want to go off on?
I know you wanted to mention something and you seem to have a strong point against it. And I just love to hear it, where we kind of left a cliffhanger. So this is good for the viewers anyways. I don't know if you remember where we ended it.
Remind me again, please.
I made a mention that I don't necessarily know if I believe in free will at all.
Okay. Yeah. So
rings a bell.
Yeah, we were gonna leave off on determinism.
I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit, but and I'm not 100% like that is the way it is, and of course no one knows for sure, right? But
right.
Yeah, I think I just lean more towards that because it seems like it just makes sense in my brain that I guess I'll re-explain it. Essentially, I think all the decisions you made are predetermined by everything before it that led up to that point. And I think that's even like, like the air I breathe, like a big thing that I kind of use as an example because it simplifies it is like if I were to go into my fridge and choose either, a Diet Dr. Pepper or a Sprite, I'm going to choose the same thing no matter what at that moment due to all the circumstances that happened before it. Like whether that's how I was raised, maybe I was around that more, even as far as like the air that hit my tongue right before, me being thirsty at the time, all those things made me make that decision. I didn't have the free will to make that decision. That's kind of what I think. But I do think there's an illusion of free wills, and even though I don't necessarily think free will exists, I think the illusion is important in its own right. But yeah,
okay.
I know you said there's certain things that we have to a deposition, right? You're talking about?
Yeah, you gotta have a presupposition for that.
Supposition, that's the word.
Yeah. Okay, so you have to like presuppose certain things in order for that to be true. So here's the thing. Small critique, and then I'll get into the heavy one. The small critique is that seems post hoc. In other words, like you already made the decision. Now you're like post hoc somehow rationalizing that you would always make that decision in all realities, right? soft critique. I understand where it's going with that, but
Well, yeah,
the
and that's
heart,
just how
yeah,
I logically that's how I logically think the outcome would happen, I guess.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And then what a determinist would tell you is that you didn't have real choice. You didn't really you couldn't have chose otherwise because of some sort of causal chains, whether it be hormones, your brain chemicals. Would you agree with that? Like things like that?
I think it's literally everything. Like if you think of all these dominoes adding up to the next domino falling,
Hmm.
whether that's like you choosing a drink, I think everything that led up to that point, including like since you were a baby, how the air hit you when you were a baby, like, and all that stuff. And I know that
Okay.
sounds like that butterfly effect, kind of like what we were discussing before,
Hmm. Hmm.
leads
Hmm.
up to you choosing that pop, or you pushing that kid at recess, like
Okay.
all. And I think even like if I was like, no, I can make this decision myself. Watch, I'm gonna do something crazy right now.
Hmm.
Um, I think that would be like the will to resist is something that was predisposed through all those dominoes as well.
Okay, so let me ask you this. There isn't here's the issue with verifying whether or not that's true.
Hmm.
If we presuppose, let's start with the baseline that determinism is true.
Hmm.
Everything that you do, everything that you believe, everything that you've come to know was causally determined.
Hmm.
That means including you believing in determinism in and of itself.
Yep.
So this is what I'm saying. I think it becomes epistemically viciously circular. You see what I mean? There's no way to verify whether or not it's even true because I would be predisposed to be like a
Yes,
Christian. Somebody else would be predisposed to be a Muslim. And no one has any true ability to rationalize. It's all just,
I would agree with all of that. Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I understand you would agree with that, but
Yeah.
then you see how that's impossible to almost justify in a sense?
I think it's impossible to argue, but like, yeah, there's no. I think in the same way that like you believe in Christianity, I believe that that would be the case. Like, like it's one of those things that like, yeah, we can't prove it's wrong and we can't prove it's right, and we are, but from
What
my
I'm saying,
rationalization of the
yeah.
situation, it seems that's most likely.
Yeah, like if determinism's true, we couldn't prove anything because it's all
Yeah.
just kind of given to you and by some reasons that you couldn't even decide for yourself, right? So again, belief systems. And then I feel like obviously this isn't the
Well,
strong
yeah, sorry.
argument, but intuitively, right? If you, let's say, were causally determined to do bad things, is
Mhm.
that person truly culpable?
I think so with my beliefs, I think we should be more empathetic of those situations, but for the greater for society, like if someone's running around, slaughtering a lot of people, or being a threat to a lot of people, you still have to restrain that for the betterment of society. So like there is still a lot that can, like, it's still a requirement to, but I think we should be more empathetic of those people, like, because I think all that stuff is brain chemicals. It could be from abuse or from prior experiences that cause them to be that way. Like, yeah, I think that would be, or maybe they got sucked into some online group that made them convinced that doing these horrible things was the correct thing to do. But like anything like that could affect it.
Yeah. But in reality,
Hmm.
they didn't choose that, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
I
that's
do
what I mean.
think it was predetermined through chemical makeup. Like in a same way that I don't think you Yugi, as I think you're a good person, and I could be totally wrong because you might have a whole persona outside of this.
Sure. Sure.
But that I don't think you'd go around like one day being like, you know what, free will exists. I'm gonna go slaughter a lot of people. Like, I don't think that is something, because how you were raised, and like, I don't think there's anything that could convince you to do such a thing.
If determinism's true, though, right? Like, if, let's say,
Yeah,
compatibilism is true, some things can be causally chained and you still have a window of freedom, right? So let me give you an example of like an alternative that
yeah, the
would
out of
should
your
be
control
considered.
things is what
Yeah,
you're
like,
talking about.
exactly. Like, for example, there
Hmm.
are things that are within your control in which you have an option to choose, truly. So, for example, I
Hmm.
believe that if you have the access to vanilla or chocolate, you truly do have a true choice. And it's not just, you know, chemicals, right? And this, to me, why I'm not convinced of it
Well,
is because
predisposed to that is the only reason you have the choice of ice cream is because of your surroundings in the first place,
yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah, yeah.
specific flavors
Yeah, that would be
are
like more
predisposed.
compatibilism. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you still have a choice, a true choice in what you have available to
yeah.
you. But I
So,
would say
so
that
what makes you
they're
come to that choice, I guess, would be a question I would have.
not chemicals.
Yeah, I
Because
would
think
say,
about it.
what do you think? Like, do you think you just actually are like almost like random? Like,
No, no. If you are a person with agency, then you
mhm,
have the ability to go even outside of, let's say, your body's reactions. I'll give you an example, right? So, for example, you've got military people who can train to fight against the effects of adrenaline, for
mhm,
example, right? So, like, when you have adrenaline dumps, people act differently. You've heard of fight or flight. Some people get tunnel vision. Some people panic. Their breathing elevates. Hands get sweaty. They're all over the place. But when you're in that environment long enough, you can train yourself to beat that reaction. And so I don't
yeah. And sorry, so a good
necessarily. Yeah,
example is like when I did swimming, I knew there's Marines that can like hold their breath for like 5 to 6 plus minutes, like even like up to
right.
10 at times,
Yeah,
all through controlled breathing, calming their body. And I think David Blaine did something similar where he basically
exactly.
made it so he passed out and didn't have to breathe,
Yeah,
and his oxygen levels were so low that he was able to like stay in there for a long time, like 20
right.
minutes.
Like a lot of
So,
another one. You'll have a lot of Christian traditions that are very heavy focused on fasting,
mhm,
right? So very heavy on fighting that urge to eat, and it doesn't control
mhm,
you. Although we have some proven data points in which whether or not you're hungry affects your behavior. But then there seems to be this other side, this person, which I believe, this mind inside you that can govern over even your body's reactions. And that's where, us as Christians, at least most of us, would be like substance dualists. There's a mind, soul, and then we are inside this body, but we're not limited to our body. It doesn't govern over us. It plays a factor, and it gives us humanity and makes us unique, but it's not like the sole thing that determines what you believe. Hence why, for example, and I'll land here so you can respond because I really
mhm.
want you to. This is why somebody like Satan, for example, although not limited by chemical uh, qualities like a human, can make an irrational decision of full conscious, like rebelling against God. That's a pure emotional response. It's not rational, right? But it's not caused by any sort of like chemical, imbalance or anything because he doesn't have a body. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he legitimately was jealous, and that is a true emotion because we would say that emotions are abstractly true like numbers. Anyway, yeah, not to go too long with it, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I think we're pretty close. Like, of course, in a lot of ways, I think when you get to that point where you're saying like fighting urges, and like a military person
Yeah.
able to surpass these difficulties, like breathing longer, or like stress and anxiety and stressful situations, being able to overcome those things. Like, I guess determinism, I don't necessarily think it's like just like a chemical thing, like, oh, you have, I guess from my viewpoint, it's not like, oh, you have, you're just like, it's just these chemicals in your brain, and that's what makes the decision for you. I would say every, like, someone who's able to join the military, or what you're saying, this consciousness, what
Hmm.
makes up that consciousness to me is all the prior experiences that and like how you were raised and the how you were born. So like even like I think there's a lot of genetic stuff with it. Like
Okay.
some people are just going to be more capable, whether that's like memory, whether that's being like your thresholds on like um, your how well you can handle stressful environments, or swim, or all that stuff is like heavily genetics. So these are things that I think lead into your decisions. So I guess the best example what I think is all these dominoes that fell before would be your birth, your genetics, your how you were raised by your parents, which maybe led you to be more controlling of your emotions, and like, or maybe you were in stressful environments a lot as a kid, and then it led
Yeah.
you to joining the military, which I don't think was a choice. Your circumstances led you into that, and the person you were made prior to that had you join, like the same you in that same situation with the same wind hitting them would have made that same exact decision at that same exact point in all like realities. Like I don't think there's a reality, as long as it's the exact copy of what we have, that you would make a different decision, or illusion of decision at that point. So I think the way I think about it is that if I went into the fridge right now and I was choosing between a Dr. Pepper and a Sprite, if there was infinite exact copies of our reality, I would choose the same soda no matter what at that point in my life, because of all of the predetermined stuff prior to it. I don't think there would be like one universe that I'm like, actually, I'm going to choose Sprite now, unless like even like if the wind hit me slightly different, that might change my, like, oh, now I'm going to choose Sprite, because I think that even something that small could make an effect on a decision. But I do think everything is just a domino effect.
Yeah, I get you. And look, I mean, I understand the idea. I can't subscribe, and I don't mean this insulting. I can't take that position seriously because of this. Let me give you a syllogism to explain
Hmm.
what's the fundamental issue with this is that, and I think you got it earlier, is that you really couldn't prove that in the sense
Yeah,
of, again, if you say I believe in determinism and I believe it comports with reality, well, you couldn't really verify that because if determinism's already true, you were predetermined to believe that,
true.
and there's no
I would
way
agree with
to,
that.
you know what I mean? So it
But I think you're also predetermined not to believe it.
right, which nobody, you
Yeah.
wouldn't know. Nobody would know. That's what I mean. Like versus like alternatives like libertarian free will versus compatibilism versus that, like I
But I think the
think
same argument could be argued for free will, is that you'd be from a determinist view, you would be
mm,
predetermined to view free will as a thing. And I think the things that led up to that would be, one thing would be religion, would push you
sure.
to that.
I just think like that would really need to be proven, like without beyond a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion. Like for example, you have a lot of situations in history that when you look at it on its face, it should not have gone that way. So like for example, you've got, let's say, a very barbarian, and I used to have notes about this, but I have to
Hmm.
scour through it. I'm not going to do that right now, but you know, bear with me. Like around the Greco-Roman era, there's these barbarian tribes that were able to produce technologies that were way beyond what you would think they could do,
Hmm.
right? And so even like historically speaking, some things determinism just to me doesn't really logically follow, right? So you would think that for every situation it could be explained by causal chains, but I can name countless stories that doesn't absolutely does not seem to be the case. You've got people who should, for example, stay poor, but yet they end up becoming a success story, standing apart from the others. They have every reason to be addicted to a certain substance, yet they're able to fight through it. There's so many things that like I wrestle with the notion that like you have these kind of preconditions to your choices, and then lastly, and I'll see if I can find it
Hmm.
while you respond, I think in that study where they talked about how you'll have a brain activity as you react to something, I forgot the name of the study. I'm gonna see if I can find it. It literally essentially says that there's a window in that time frame of your brain kind of My daughter's hype. And there's a time window in your brain in which you can take back what you were going to do. So there's still a window of retracting whatever waves were coming through initially. Let me see if I can find it though, but I'm curious what you think about that on its face.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the first
It's
one.
the Libet experiments.
Yeah,
That one.
like I guess the way I see it is that first of all, I think determinism is just as explainable as free will is. That's how my brain sees it.
Say that one
Like,
more time.
so
Let me
I
make sure I
think
heard you.
determinism is just as explainable, which I think it's very little explainable as free will is. Like, I think it's just a counter argument to free will, whether we're
Okay.
making an actual decision or not, or if those decisions are basically predetermined.
Okay.
Um, you were saying, sorry, so I was trying to remember the first statement you made was
Um,
why
was
you.
like, historically speaking,
Oh
you've
yes.
got a lot of stories of where you would see like barbarian tribes.
Hmm.
You would think they would be determined to just be barbarians and die barbarians.
So
Yet they
so
come out. Okay, go ahead.
from your belief, because I know you're talking about like a drug addict getting over drugs or something like
Right.
that. Do you think
Hmm.
the only like what is the major differences between like person A who gets over the drugs and person B who overdoses?
Uh,
Like, is it just like stronger free will or like more capable free will? Or like how much do
let's just
genetics
look at the
play?
two.
Or
How about this? Let's just look
yeah,
at the two alternatives. Under a compatibilist view, it's because they had the ability to do otherwise within their environment. So
like
some
did they
people,
both have the ability to do otherwise?
again, under a determinist view, no. Even if they because if you're a determinist, even if they have the ability, they couldn't because it was predetermined how it was going to be anyway. If it's compatibilist, the answer is so long as they have an opportunity, they truly could. Yes. And under obviously, if you got absolute free will, then yeah, it would be because they absolutely willed to do it and fought through, hell, their reactions,
So
did whatever it took to
what
fight
makes
over
the
it.
decision for or how does
The
a
person.
drug addict make that decision to or how do they get the free will to get over it versus someone who does not get the will to get over it? How does one person do that versus the other, I guess?
Well, that's going to be hard to answer, like the how,
Yeah.
because you know what I mean. Like, when
Like
you
is
have
one person just more able to manipulate their free will? Like that's what I mean. Like, or is one person like able to
well,
just has a
when
stronger
it
will?
comes, no, I wouldn't say that, because when it comes to addiction, there is a chemical factor, whether we want to
Hmm.
accept it or not. There is, right? What I'm saying is that that chemical factor isn't final. In other words, there may be someone with a crippling nicotine addiction that they absolutely would need to, let's say, go to some sort of rehab for,
Hmm.
in a controlled environment where it would at least assist them in getting out of it, because the person wants to stop it despite the chemicals in their body telling them, or not even telling them, but let's say giving them reactions of pleasure from absorbing the nicotine. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
like we both
and
agree
there's
that
people.
there is determinists, or at least out of our control things. There are out of
Yeah.
our control things for
Yeah,
sure.
like there are people, for example, like in my job, right? And I
Hmm.
work with a lot of like heroin addicts, for example, right? There are some out there, they're although rare, oh, granted to you, there are some who will say, I genuinely need to leave this environment and go somewhere where I don't even hear it, think of it, smell of it, just completely get around it, and I know I'll get over it.
So
And
how
they,
does
or
a
the
person
person
come to
knows.
that point though? Like how does a person make that decision, or like versus someone who doesn't make that decision?
Because moral realities are abstract and they don't necessarily, how do I say this? Because we believe in objective morality, I
Hmm.
would agree that they came to the conclusion that morally this is not good, and
Do
they're
you think
having
there's
a
people
struggle to
that
get over it.
for sure? Do you think there's people that don't get over it that do still think it's morally not good?
Of course, it happens all the time.
So
Addicts will
why
tell you that
aren't
it's
they
wrong
able to versus someone who
because they like it.
can?
They enjoy it. Like, how about this?
Yeah, but I'm saying like
Yeah,
what if both are like, yeah, I really need to get over this and there's one that doesn't and one that does. I guess
it,
Does
Yeah,
one
like
have
it's not
better free will, I guess? Like,
like let's cut to the heart of it real quick. So
mhm.
like for example, Alex O'Connor will say the only reason why is because their will to not want to get over it is stronger than their will to get over it, right? It's just a cycle of wills, right? Some people will more to get over it, therefore they're able to get over it, but they're ultimately controlled by their will. Now we would agree, we just don't believe that we believe that the internal will of the person is not the same as your human faculties, right? The accidents of what make you a human, your chemical balance. That is not your will. That is hormones, right? So, like, for example, heaven forgive me, pregnant women out there, right? They may have a very high level of hormones and they may do things that they may not necessarily, of their conscience, agree with. It's not them. It's not their will. That's what I'm saying. It's separate. Whereas I believe Alex conflates the two. He says it's all just you. Your chemicals, everything
Yeah,
is
I
just you.
mean, yeah, I kind of see it as everything is you. So maybe
Yeah.
that's where our branches do separate. But
Yeah, I
like, I
would say
guess, and sorry, I
mhm.
kept asking that question about like, why does someone has more will, it seems, than someone else? Like
Well,
that's kind of,
you never had a moment of anger and you've realized, wait a minute, that's not how I act. You never had
of
that moment?
course I have,
Yeah.
but I think like there's a difference between me questioning it and someone else who doesn't question it, right? And I think the reason
Yeah.
I question, like, oh, I really shouldn't have yelled there. Like, what was I thinking? I think first of all, the reason I yelled, I think is
Mhm.
predisposed through, like, how I was raised or, being around people who yell and that's how they communicate. And, like all these previous things that led up to that point is the reason I yelled. The reason I'm reacting to me yelling and why I think it needs improved is also because how I was raised or what I saw as like, like how I learned,
Mhm.
oh, I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah,
In a
that's what
different
I'm saying.
environment. Yeah, but all of these things were controlled. Like there's dominoes that fell for me to be the person I am.
Yeah, like
It's not
let me
like,
give it to you like this. Like for
yeah.
example, someone's having a bad day, they were late to work, wife is making them upset, kids are making them upset, they're broke. I'm not saying that they don't have a reason to be upset. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Mhm.
saying that typically when a moral fault happens because of anger, that is recognized. I'm saying that moral fault, like if they say I kind of crashed out on my boss and I knew that was wrong, it's not that they didn't have a reason, it's that they knew it was wrong, and that moral claim right there is beyond chemicals. That's what I'm saying. The moment you say that was like, no one says my chemicals were really imbalanced today and that's why. No, they
But
say that was wrong.
do you think the way you were raised is what caused you to think that was wrong?
Yeah, it plays a
Or so
factor, but
everything, no, I think it's the reason for all your decisions. I think it is that's one of the dominoes, but I'm saying also your chemicals, like what you were saying. Because if I was still in a heat of rage and my chemicals were off, like what you were saying, maybe it's my time of the month. Guys have PMS as well. Guys PMS, like it is a thing, even though a lot
I
of guys
gotcha.
don't think about it. Um,
Okay.
if I'm in that moment, I might not think
Mhm.
it's wrong. I was in the right that day, like, and all those factors do play into my reaction as well. I don't think I chose the reaction. I think that reaction is just one of the dominoes that
Yeah,
fell.
like again, I would what I'm saying is here's where we're maybe
Mhm.
not where we see differently. You're saying that was the final factor. I'm saying it's not necessarily the final factor. It can be, right? Like you really could just you're in severe pain. Like I've been in severe pain. I'm sure you have too, right? It changes the way you act. Like you get irritated, you don't want to talk, you just want to get rid of the pain. Completely understand. But there are situations in which you can fight through it and not be that way. I've met people who have chronic pain, yet they're
Yeah.
the nicest people in the world. So I think it's not the determining factor, is
So
my
so
point.
the fighting through it though, I guess the point I'm getting at is there's some people that wouldn't be able to fight through it. And I think
Of
it's
course.
all predetermined. I don't think it's something like, hey, in this moment my will is weaker than his will to not feel this. I think it's and even if it was that, it would be a genetic difference in my either genetic or how you were raised. Like, and I'm not saying like, oh, it's like the next domino to fall, and this was the one right before it. The
Hmm.
way I'm thinking about it is, hey, there's a million dominoes falling, and it's hitting this one decision. So all these dominoes are like, even the air that hit you right before you chose your soda, how you were raised, like all these things are making that decision for you. It's not like one domino, one domino, one domino. It's like millions of dominoes hitting the one choice domino.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard for you to prove that as necessarily true because even there are some people that could recognize that. Like, let's say they'll
Hmm.
say, "Hey, look, this reaction that I get to this situation seems to be something that was in my environment. Maybe I saw my parents do it, right?
Hmm.
Every time, whatever, the Eagles lose the game, they go out and they light a car on fire. I'm going to be the one to stop doing that because I noticed that morally this is wrong, even though I have every inclining and desire to do it because I saw it. That to me, when you make that moral claim that's abstract, you're breaking that idea that it's just chemicals, that it's
Yeah.
just,
And I
you see
would
what I'm saying?
say
Yeah.
Yugi making that moral claim only exists due to the other factors in your life. Like you were
But is
taught
that
maybe not to do that, or you were,
what if it's not though? What
I
what if
mean,
no
I
one
know
ever
that's what
told me
you're
and one day I
saying,
just
then
came to
free
the
will would
realize?
exist. I just think, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's just someone telling you. You could
Mhm.
maybe recognize someone got hurt once from a fire, and you're saying, "Whoa, we shouldn't start fires," or you think, "Hey, that's just someone's property. We shouldn't. That's not mine. I don't have the right to do anything to their thing." Like even if
Think
it's
about
as
it, like, yeah.
simple as that, like you don't have to. You can get super abstract on the reason you object to it, but I think there are reasons you object to it that are
Yeah.
not in your control. Like I think it's the dominoes that fell to you thinking that's wrong.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be that might be the issue because we would have to really prove that's always the case, and it sounds like at least, and maybe we can move on from here. It sounds like if
Yeah,
you're being honest, you would concede like, "Hey, look, if there is at least one case of someone coming to a completely different decision
100%.
and there's no predisposed cause," you'd be like, yeah, they were truly free, right? Oh, okay, so then
Yeah, but
sounds
so
like,
the hard thing, yeah, it's impossible to truly test, and I'm saying that in the
yeah,
sense that like I think it's the same way that you believe in free will because it makes most sense to you. I think in my sense, it makes the most sense to me that there isn't free will. I do think there's an illusion of it.
yeah, that's the Sam
Like
Harris
there.
argument. He dies on the hill that free will really is just illusory. I don't think that we even remotely live that way, obviously,
Yeah, we can't
and I
live that
think
way. I don't think we
that
can live that way.
and I yeah, and I think unfortunately he really is just begging the question
Mhm.
when folks like him say your choices are pre-causal and they can't really demonstrate that. I have no reason to accept that, right? Because again, I can I'm sure you've talked to plenty of people. I know plenty of people and testimonies, stories, historical situations that just don't check out under
Yeah,
determinism.
and
Yeah.
I guess the determinist thing too, it's like so what you were saying is like if someone could make a different decision, I think the thing that gets really hard about that is essentially that could have been a domino that led you like if you're going to be someone who's resistant, that could have been due to or I believe that that is due to the fact of how you were raised or not even just how you were raised. I know I keep saying that, but literally everything you've seen or done or heard
Mhm.
or affected you in the past and again like as small as the wind hitting you affects you.
Yeah, and yeah, we're gonna keep, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, yeah, I think
I'm
we
gonna tell
we
you,
get the
well,
point.
yeah,
We
like
get the point.
I'm gonna keep asking you, how do you absolutely know that? You know what I mean? Like you
I
don't.
don't
Like
think
you,
you do. No, I agree with
yeah,
that, and I
yeah,
don't think
okay.
you absolutely know that we have free will. I think, well, you can say you do, but I don't think
Well, I would say that
we
the
know.
experiments that determinists cite prove the point. So look, what if I gave you evidence? I'll just show you.
Okay.
Here, let me present something. So here you go. Let me put this on the screen. I will show you the Leibniz experiments, and they talk about this whole situation with brain scans, right? And here, hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to highlight a very specific portion where it talks about even during when they scanned brainwaves of
Oh
decision
yeah, so you're
making.
saying the pausing thing.
Yeah, right here. He says that there's room for a conscious veto, meaning that these people still had a window in which they could consciously either continue with the action or take it back. Man, this is like I'm butchering this right now, but here you go. This part right here. This is an actual experiment that proves that yes, there is brain waves happening when you're even thinking about making a decision. But he's saying, the guy who ran this, is that there's still always room for you to veto what you were about to do. And I'll give you the full study. I want you to study it. And anyone
Yeah.
watching this, don't take my word, or anybody listening. Read this for yourself to make sure that I'm not like feeding false info. But I'll read it real quick, just so you can kind of see where I'm getting at with this. So,
Yeah, sorry, before you
um,
get into that, I guess
sure,
my
sure.
just initial thing would be a determinist would say that whether you veto or not is also determined by everything that led up to
But there's
vetoing or
no.
not,
All
right?
right, yeah, let's read it because there's no separate brainwaves. It's only one. Like, you know what I mean? There's not like a
Well,
new brainwave overriding it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you've heard the separate brain separation thing where they work differently together and stuff too, though.
So I'll
And stuff
read.
like that.
Here we go. I'll read this passage right here. It's not too long. The neurologist Benjamin Libet performed a series of remarkable experiments in the early 1980s that were enthusiastically, if mistakenly, adopted by determinists and compatibilists to show that human free will does not exist. His measurements of time before the subject is aware of self initiated actions that had enormous, mostly negative impact in the case for human free will, despite Leibniz's view that his work does nothing to deny human freedom. Because what determinists were doing is they were saying, see, look, it's all just brain waves. Your brain is just telling you what's happening, and that's all it is. But I'll continue. Since free will is best understood as a complex idea combining two antagonistic concepts, freedom and determination, free will, in a temporal sense, Leibniz's work on the timing of events can also be interpreted as supporting our two-stage model free will. Indeed, Leibniz himself argued that there was still room for a veto over a decision that may have been made unconsciously over 300 milliseconds before the agent is consciously aware of the decision to flex a finger. So I think, for example, if I remember correctly, I'll let everybody read it because I don't want to speak for it, but I think it was like they would put something in front of you, and then when a certain portion of, I guess, like a dot came up, they would think to point at it. And he's saying that well before you even do that, you can take it back before you even do it. So, like, in other words, if determinism was true, it would happen and you would do it rather than you being able to take it back even before you complete the action. Right. That's kind of like the argument. But
Yeah,
anyway,
so I guess like so someone in that experiment, if they were sitting and then it just flashed a light, and I thought I'm gonna point, and then I'm like, no, I'm not gonna
yeah,
point.
well before they
They
even
they can
point.
tell the trigger went off that they said they were gonna point, and then they decided not to point.
Yeah, exactly. Like you would think
Um,
that the waves will go off and then they would do it.
yeah,
It's not how it works. Yeah. Yeah.
but I
So
guess yeah, the way I see it is that that person in that same situation in a duplicated an infinite amount of times would have chose not to point. That's the way I think of it. Like they would have vetoed their point brain function, if that makes sense.
yeah. And look, he words it as conscious. Obviously, like this is gonna take a little more time to like
Yeah.
kind of explain it, but he would say this: the conscious will could decide to allow the volitional process to go to completion, resulting in the more active self, or the conscious will could block or veto the process so that no motor act occurs. So what his argument is that there is a conscious will behind this that seems to be able to take back the action, which would be our position, right? We would say that we are minds that are encompassed by a body, right? And so, yes, there's limitations that comes with that. There's operations that comes with that, right? Like it's kind of like imagine controlling a character with a remote control. You know what I mean? The control might be broken, things might be off, but there's still a mind behind the controller controlling the character.
Yeah,
Obviously,
so the
that's not
way
a
yeah,
it's not a
sorry.
perfect analogy, but it
Yeah.
captures like what we're doing with our bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, the way I
That's
just
yeah.
think about it is that like no matter the decision during this veto process, whatever the decision was, that same individual would have made that same decision over infinite exact same realities. Like there isn't an exact same reality where that person then points the finger after 100 million times of not pointing the finger. That's the way I see it. But
Yeah,
it's
I'll
definitely an
read a little.
interesting study about like brain function and stuff, though. That the brain
Gotcha.
will
Yeah.
tell you to do stuff that your mind doesn't do, or that your
Here's a
body doesn't do.
Gotcha. Here's another key point, real quick, and then I'll drop it here. It says, he found that although conscious awareness of the decision preceded the subject's finger motion by only 200 milliseconds, the rise in the type 2 readiness potential was clearly visible at about 550 milliseconds before the flex of the wrist. The
Mm.
subject showed unconscious activity to flex about 350 milliseconds before reporting conscious awareness of the decision to flex. Indeed, an earlier, slow, and very slight rise to the readiness potential can be seen as early as 1.5 seconds before the action. So essentially, he's saying, right, that before they even made the decision, before they would even verbally say what they were going to do, there was still a window there to kind of, do otherwise. But yeah.
So, sorry, quick thing,
Mhm.
Soul Slayer, Rico. Using your free will to say there is no free will is a wild take. The argument to that is the only reason I would do that is because I was predetermined to do that anyways. I I was predetermined to argue against free will is my take. So, in
Yeah, I
my
mean,
opinion, it isn't using free will. It's the
yeah, I
illusion
mean,
of
look,
free will to argue free will.
no, you're good, you're good. Again, like, unless you got something else, I
No,
think,
no, I think it's an impossible question for either of us to like
ye-
100%
well,
definitively answer.
if there is a conscious behind your actions,
Mhm.
I think at the very least, at least the compatible is right. Now, if you want to say absolute free will is just not a thing because, insert philosophical argument here. Like, obviously, there's some people that'll take it to the extreme and say, well, um, you can't will yourself to fly with wings, for example, right? So obviously there may be problems with some people with the way that they articulate absolute free will.
Yeah.
They put it simply as just truly having the ability to do otherwise, versus where I think if you're gonna stick on the idea that causal factors are what determine your actions and you truly have no choice, I think, again, I know I'm repeating myself at this point. I
Yeah.
think that's hard to prove, but at least I can meet you in the middle as a compatibilist if I were to be committed to that, right? If I were, I could say,
Yeah.
look, like, sure, like, of course, there are causal factors that determine to an extent the type of person that you'll be, nature, nurture. That's a strong argument, by the way. I'll give it to you, right? Like, how you were raised is going to absolutely factor in, but it still begs the question, is that the determining factor? Is the way you were raised or conditioned solely the reason why you are what you are? If the answer is yes, then you got it. If the answer in any case is no, it collapses, in my opinion. You see what I'm saying?
So how you were raised and like your chemical makeup and everything. Like of course there's things out of even the control of the people who raised you. So like
Mhm,
two people could be raised in the same exact environment and
mhm.
one might be like I had the greatest parents ever. They were so amazing to me. And the same person, or like a different person with a different chemical makeup, might have been like, I hated my parents. I never want to be in that situation ever. And I'm going to do the total opposite of that. But that's the brain chemicals coming in as a factor as well, like genetics,
Yeah, you see how you're kind of like
genetic
yeah, you
prep.
see how you're kind of you're saying the
Yeah.
same thing, like that it's not you, it's your brain giving you the information.
It's not. It's all both. I like I said. I think like what you said with Alex O'Connor saying it's all you. That's the way I think about it. Like I think all
Yeah,
of
like
it
it's all
is the
it's
factors
your
that
will,
made
but
you.
that will isn't controlled by
You can't
any
control the
true.
will. The will happens.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
part where where we part ways because then
it's restricted will, not free will.
mhm.
Imprisoned will.
Yeah, Yeah, that's gonna be rough for us because then like I don't even know how you would determine what a person is at that point. What is it like a person? That it becomes arbitrary. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah,
not really like you don't make yourself at all. I mean that's rough,
yeah,
dude. That's
pretty much
rough.
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Yeah,
yeah, that's tough. But all right,
yeah, you're kind of shaped into that. You're
yeah,
molded.
no, you know.
So since we can keep moving on. Uh,
Hmm.
we don't have to take as long on this. This was just an interesting fact from a video I was watching today that I just thought, or
Okay,
I don't even know how. I think I just thought about it because of our discussions before. Is
sure.
that like I think you discussed believing in, or one of your reasons for believing in God or Christianity is because of I think a lot of people come to God because of personal experience, right?
Yes.
Like you can't just come from like an I mean, you could maybe come from an analytical point of view and still land on that. But I'm saying
Yeah.
usually there still has to be that personal experience.
Sure.
As a
I understand that.
Christian, how do you prove or how do you reconcile or I guess even like rationalize that you like or I don't even know the right you'll understand what I'm saying. But
Yeah. So are you saying how can I truly in
know
any
that
capacity?
everyone is getting a
Yeah.
personal experience.
I got you. I got you. So, how do we determine whether or not someone is having an extrinsic experience or just an internal experience?
Sorry, so like a personal experience that points you towards God.
Yeah, it's
Like
gonna
how
obviously.
so like I think as a Christian you would say everyone's kind of given that opportunity, right? I would say as a Christian, do you like if you believe that, like that, people are given that opportunity or God's showing himself in different ways, are you just I guess inserting an experience you had into everyone else's life that they maybe weren't actually exposed to? Or I guess how would
What do
you
you mean by
rationalize
that?
that?
What do you mean by
Like,
that?
well, because I think Christians often will say that, like, the personal God will present Himself to like everybody, right?
Uh, I'm sure there's some
Through
Christians that say
personally,
that.
yeah.
Some,
So
sure.
yeah. So I guess I'm just saying,
I don't
like,
think that's
okay,
necessarily
so that's
true,
not
but
necessarily true.
no, like because we would say nature in and of itself already reveals God. So that's already in its face because at some point you're gonna you go back to let's use the word causal chains, right?
Hmm.
You're gonna end up hitting a epistemic wall at some point because at least logically speaking, things don't just pop in out of thin air, not
Yeah.
normatively speaking. So at some point something causes something, or it is just uncaused in and of itself. It just necessarily exists.
Okay. So I
So
don't think, yeah,
yeah,
I don't think we have to go too deep into that because that was
no,
just
you're
like a
good, you're
random
good.
off the cuff
But in
thought.
terms of like determining if you're talking about like personal experience, that factors into like whether or not someone is having an external or internal experience, and if that external experience is truly true, again, we talked about this kind of in the first session of this where I said like I take max data, right? So
Hmm.
is the person known to
And I think we're
have
both that way. Like
yeah,
we're
like
we're just taking in the data differently.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like if someone never has a history of mental issues, has no brain damage, I got no reason to doubt them. And they're telling me, look, Jesus came to my house and said, I want you to go to this church and serve me. And I don't know, I'll see you in the end. And this is the only time it's ever happened. It's never happened again. It's changed your life. I really can't find a lot of good justifications to doubt them.
Yeah.
If I can, unless I can like access their medical records, their psychiatric history, et cetera, et cetera. I try to, unless I find out otherwise, I try to take people at their word for the most part. If you're asking me, all right.
Dangerous game to do nowadays.
Unfortunately, that's why I'm saying I think you have to, and
You
obviously that
gotta
takes
filter those
time, right?
people out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it gets weird, yes, because you don't know who's who and what's what.
Mhm.
But I do believe that let me see if I can find my source real quick. There seems to be a system that some use You know, um different Christian traditions use it. Let me see if I can. Oh, actually, it might even be on my phone, but there is a systemic process to determine, for example, whether or not someone is having a genuine supernatural situation, right? So, like, for
Hmm.
example, when it comes to like possessions,
Hmm.
right, demonic possessions. So in the book Demonic Foes by Richard Gallagher, right? I've been listening to it on audio.
For sure.
He's a highly qualified psychologist who does this for a living, and he has a system in which he can determine whether or not, for example, these experiences are just hallucinations or if they're true. So one of the ways he does it is like, what are you hearing and how is it working? So like, um, he'll say things like he was dealing with someone who was getting messages telepathically somehow. Look, I know it's gonna sound like mumbo jumbo, but just bear with me, okay? The reason why he's able to know that it wasn't auditory hallucinations is because it wasn't verbal or audible. It was strictly in the mind. And he was able to kind of put the pieces together. With another case, for example, this woman didn't have a diagnosis for a specific condition in which bruising would happen randomly, but she would say that she would be attacked by these deities, these beings,
Hmm.
right? And leave marks on her. So he would do like a medical exam to thoroughly see, like, okay, is this actually true, or is
Hmm.
there a more reasonable conclusion, for example? So I think like it's not infallible, but there seems to be a process in which people can determine true experiences. It's just going to take a lot of work. You know what I mean?
I think the tough thing about that, and like how I rationalize it in my mind, is not like a supernatural thing. Like, of course, we can start with the fact that we don't know everything. Like, of course, there can be factors that might be outside of our knowledge still. But again, that's just the low hanging fruit of being like, oh, don't look into it because we don't know it, we'll know it in
Yeah,
the
you don't,
future. I'm
because that
not
would be
saying that.
special pleading. Yeah,
I'm not saying
you don't
that's
want to do
just
that.
my one argument. How
Mhm.
I go about it is I think the brain's like you would agree the brain is one of the most complicated things in the universe, like similar to, I mean, especially when we talk about conscious humans. And there's studies of people drinking non-alcoholic beer and getting drunk, right? Like there's studies with that, and it just shows how strong the mind is. And those are people in the right mind. And and there's tons of factors like, uh time of the month, or someone who just got out of pregnancy. Like, yeah, a lot of hormone things that can pop off even in normal people. Like break, breaking points, like people just have a manic break, or
Mhm.
like even see hallucinations. Like I've been in my basement and I'm like, there's something chasing me, I need to run upstairs. Like it's and I'm a completely sane human, and I could have told people there was someone that's chasing me up the stairs right there, like literally. Or,
Mhm.
I've been home alone and heard weird noises and being like, there's something around me. And I think there's people who have a lot a lot more lucid imaginations too. And I think there's almost like confirmation bias once you validate those hallucinations. So I don't necessarily, and again, there's so many cases that it's impossible to explain everything. But like in similar cases like that, the UFO sightings are like just like group psychosis and stuff like that as well. So that's how I would categorize all that stuff. I wouldn't
Yeah, you would just say
exactly
like it's all just
supernatural.
it could be explained naturalistically.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Even if
few
we don't have
things.
the direct answer for it at the moment.
Yeah, but you see how that's like a little. You don't see how that's presuppositional of you. You're presupposing only naturalism explains it. So you're not as like agnostic as you may think you are, bro. Like it sounds like you're saying, look, the default is there's a natural
The
explanation and it
default.
cannot be external in any capacity.
It cannot be. I don't think it's not necessarily that it cannot be.
It's just more likely
Uh,
to, right?
yeah, like I think I lean to like as far as like demonic possessions and stuff.
Sure.
I guess the examples you were bringing up, and like I don't think aliens have ever visited us. So sorry. I think I was branching off the examples you gave, and not necessarily every possible example. Like
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm not saying someone couldn't be healed from a miracle. I'm not saying that's not impossible, but I
You would
think
say, I'm assuming
I
you
guess
would
out of
say
the
like you would say like, hey, look, there's probably is a scientific explanation. We just haven't discovered it yet.
yeah, but like for
Yeah.
example, I think if there was a scientific explanation and there's is a God that exists, he would have put that explanation there, right? Like or given that ability, right? So like that could be a miracle in its own right. But I do think
Mhm.
most things are explainable. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
like when we would say things are like a miracle, the by its definition, they would be rare, right? Like they're not
yeah, like I
something that
think
just happened.
I was listening to something recently where there's like this person who was on an Alex O'Connor video. I don't remember his name exactly. He has his own YouTube channel. He goes to like Harvard or Oxford or something, and he was talking about how he came to Christianity. And he was talking about miracles that he was hearing about and like,
Well, there's a lot of
secondhand
them.
accounts and stuff. And he was talking
Yeah,
about someone who couldn't like walk for like 10 years and there's multiple accounts of this guy having like multiple, like
sclerosis. Yeah.
yeah, like horrible
Lee
leg
Strobel
issues and
talks
stuff.
about it in his book "Seeing the Supernatural." He talks about
Yeah,
it's a
so it's
woman.
probably the same case. Yeah.
So what happened is that the woman had multiple sclerosis. I believe the situation, and it was medically confirmed. She has
Hmm.
data to prove it. I believe
Tons of
her
eyes
case was,
witness for years and
yeah,
years
yeah.
being able to see it. Yeah.
Her case was given over radio. Christians prayed over her all over the nation. She heard a voice, which she would attribute to God, saying, "Get up and walk." And she got up and walk.
Hmm.
It just
Um,
doesn't happen.
I
It
do.
just
I
doesn't
guess. Do you
happen.
agree with Guts Sand saying group hallucinations do not exist?
They're exceedingly rare. He might.
Yeah,
I'll let
I
he
think
might
they
come
do
on the
exist.
panel later, and he can
Okay,
justify himself. But they're exceedingly rare because now you
but
have
they
to
do
like.
happen, right? I mean, have you looked into like the Blue
I
Book stuff?
what is it?
Blue Book, with like them looking into like alien sightings and like
How
supernatural sightings
everybody
in the
claims.
United States back in like
Yeah, I'd have to.
'80s.
I would be interested in looking at that data
Yeah, or
because
I mean,
again, like,
Mandela effect is a similar thing. So
yeah.
unless you think Mandela effect is just like super legit and we're just in like a different timeline or something.
After 2020, it feels like it, brother.
Yeah.
But
Well, people are
I would
blaming
say,
what was that? The thing that found Higgs boson. They're blaming that.
yeah,
Sure.
like I would say this, like I would be interested in reading that data, and I will be open to it being a possibility that they do happen. But I really need to see what's like. I need details. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Before I come to that, I haven't investigated. I'll be honest
And
with you. I'm more
you and I kind of talked about it in the same sense with that cop situation where we said, one person said it and they all started hearing
well.
it or all started seeing it.
Well, that's why the
Well,
reason
and
why I brought that up.
that wasn't guaranteed a group hallucination.
No,
I'm just
yeah,
saying
like
that's the argument against something like that.
I get you. Like I have it still. The reason why I brought it up is because very specifically they all heard it at the same
Oh
time. It
no,
wasn't
yeah, I
like,
didn't mean
yeah,
to. Sorry, I
yeah.
didn't mean to rehash that. I was
No,
saying
you're good.
in my mind, or like what it was another one that I was thinking. Like if someone, I think our minds are super unreliable. So
Okay.
even before hallucinations, our minds are super unreliable.
Mhm.
That like if one person said, "Hey, this person who robbed the store had this," like look, they were wearing a striped shirt and blue pants. Everyone who will start thinking they saw a guy with striped shirt and blue pants, regardless if that was the fact or not, like an actual fact that they saw a person with striped shirt and blue
Yeah,
pants.
and you know what I mean? Like I don't know if I would necessarily grant that that like logically follows all the time,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
no, I would agree with that. It doesn't happen all
yeah,
the time, but it
I
does
got you.
happen. I think. I think
Okay.
that'd be
Okay.
argument.
It can, yeah. I'll grant that it can. I don't know about universally. Here, I'll give you the
No, I
video real
agree.
quick.
I agree. Not
I think
universal.
because we're getting close to the hour mark. I don't know if there's any
Oh
more
yeah.
you'd want to discuss because I think I
Oh,
would
sorry.
like to have enough time to get people on the
Give
panel
me
to
a
talk
short
to.
answer. Give me just a short answer for this one. I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
When did God, in your mind,
Okay.
decide to I guess, like, arbitrarily bring humans to heaven. Like, if do you believe in evolution, I guess? I guess we should start with that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, remember,
I
real
think that
quick,
that
I'll
I
answer
think
it.
it just
Don't
determines
think I'm
that.
dodging. I
Yeah.
want to real quick.
Mhm.
Remember, I told you when we were discussing about the problem of pain, there's no such thing as arbitrariness to God. Like everything has a purpose. Just want to
Yeah,
make
okay.
sure. Okay.
For sure.
In terms of evolution,
I guess
I have no
arbitrary from our view. Arbitrary from our view,
from a
or, like,
human
our lack.
standpoint. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
stuff feels
like,
arbitrary, but
we don't have the lack of understanding of why he chose
yeah,
that, I
yeah.
guess.
For in
Sorry,
our
I didn't mean it from his.
yeah,
Arbitrarily
from
from
his
our
yeah.
view.
Yeah,
Ar
from our view, sure. Like certain things may seem that way, but
Yeah.
if I were to submit my
Mhm.
belief system under a Christian worldview, that's not a just doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
But I will say, for the evolution discussion, I'm okay from what I know so far. I'm not educated on the topic. From what I understand, I'm cool with I'm cool with evolution insofar as it shows levels of adaptation.
Mhm.
I don't know if I necessarily buy we started off as a fish and then became human. That's the part where I'm like, I'm not
Do you
seeing
think
it.
we started off as a
But
rat and became human?
like, cross species,
Yeah.
macro evolution, I think is the word of it. Look,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'll say this.
Do you believe in
Do
macroevolution only?
huh?
Do you believe in macro only?
Like
Or, like,
micro would be like
or
adaptation.
micro, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
macro would be like a fish
So
becomes a
I know
dude
someone who
over
only
time.
believes in micro,
Yeah, like look,
like,
I'll give you two.
little adaptation.
Yeah. Let me lay out two things. I'll say
Mhm.
this. If it's true that for some reason that I haven't looked into yet, human beings started off as these little clump of cells,
Mhm.
became a fish, and then became what we are today, God clearly exists. Because, like, you know what I mean? There would have to be a divine hand to make something like that happen over that much time. But either that or, maybe it is just naturally true. And Adam and Eve were the first humans created by God for a very specific position, while these other creatures still existed. So I'm open to it, but I'm with skepticism. Very skeptical because I heard that
Or
there's recent, and my wife kind of said it on the side here. There is some recent data that shows that, and I didn't save it, or I might have, that shows that these mutations have a very limited pool of what can happen. But again, I'm speaking very much as a layman.
yeah, I mean,
Like
I
like
roomed with
apparently
a person who
scientists
was
are
like a yeah, sorry.
yeah, I'll land it here and then you can go ahead. Apparently, scientists are really reconsidering the whole evolution discussion. Like, there's some issues with it recently, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, so I lived with a person who had a doctorate in biology, and
Okay.
his doctorate thesis was about whales and their, like, coming onto the land and then going back to water over, hundreds of millions of years and all that stuff. Um, so I mean, I truly believe in evolution, just from, of course, my limited understanding of it all. Um, but I guess if you don't, I mean, you said if it would be like Adam and Eve. So even in your viewpoint, sorry, I'm just gonna have a follow-up
Yeah,
question because
I'll lay out my position.
I'm not gonna change your mind.
No, you're good.
Um,
You're good. Let me lay out my position clearly, though. What I'm
yeah.
saying is, I'm open to that being true.
Mhm.
I would say that Adam and Eve were uniquely created, but I'm
Mhm.
okay with saying that while they were the first elected humans,
Mhm.
in a certain special sense, there could have been other creatures that are synonymous with humans around them. I'm okay with that.
So like those synonymous with humans,
Hmm.
do you think they had consciousness or as close to conscious ability as like
I don't know.
possible? Like
I don't know.
literally like the next generation, the previous generation to being
I
fully
don't know, bro.
conscious?
Because with the, you know what I mean. We got like different like types of human types, like
Mhm.
Neanderthals
Yeah,
and all this.
100%.
Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah, so, I mean, I think that's fine. I think it's weird that there'd be, like, because even just a few thousand years ago in God's infinite scale and, like, eternity, that he would
Hmm.
just choose, like, the last few thousand years to be, like, 6,000 years. Is that what they believe? As far as the Bible goes? Like, which
Up in
would
the
be,
air.
like, less than a grain of sand
That
in
that that calculation
eternal
was so that
time.
calculation was proposed by,
Mhm.
I think it was like like a Catholic scholar once upon a time.
Yeah.
I don't have to like accept it, but
But I
if
guess
you,
like
I'll,
even like 40,000 years or something, like to God, essentially that time scale is nothing to eternity. Like you couldn't put a grain of sand on it. So like for it to be this is the time that he's choosing seems kind of weird.
I mean that's relative, right? So we would
Yes,
say,
it
for
does.
example, okay, I got you. So
But
like
I'm saying
Peter's,
it's weird that he would choose that. Like in the sense, why wouldn't he choose like a greater scale?
yeah, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's going to be relative to the perception of time. So, like for example, like for us, Peter in his letter in the Bible says that 1,000 years to God is only like a day. Now, the
Yeah,
point isn't
I
that
would
it's a
agree.
literal thing. It's more like the way that he perceives time is fundamentally different than the way we do. So, when you say to God, I don't, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
to him, this is like not even half a second.
Jeez,
Where
so he
you know what I mean?
basically
Like
did
1 year
no
could be half a
suffering as
second. Like
Jesus.
say again.
So he basically did no suffering as Jesus then.
Well,
He's like,
well,
that's no time.
Jesus was truly human, and going through crucifixion is like one of the worst things possible. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
like, you could say it's nothing, but when you're truly human and you truly experience things,
yeah. I
I
mean,
don't
but his
know. I can't.
spiritual side isn't truly human. Well, yeah. I mean, so that's beside the fact. Sorry, that's not what
Yeah,
I'm pointing out.
no, it's okay.
As far as the problem of evil, if he had the Earth around for 6 billion years, I think is the estimate, and living things were living on it. I mean, unless you just don't believe the Earth is 6 billion years old, which I think was scientifically found out through the moon,
I have no
taking
problem with it. Yeah, that's fine.
moon
Yeah,
rocks, and studying
yeah.
those.
Again, God, time for
Yeah.
God is going to be completely different.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, for
so I'm
sure.
totally okay
But
with
I'm
it. Yeah.
saying, let's say like 6 billion years of living creatures suffering for no purpose. Do you think that fits
There is no
into a
such thing as no
narrative?
purpose. You see what I'm
Well,
saying?
I'm saying, does that fit into a narrative? No purpose, as in they're not getting repaid.
They are.
Until
That's fundamentally in our text. They will be compensated. All creatures, animals, humans.
prior to the text, prior to Adam and Eve, prior to
Well, that wouldn't. So when you say prior to the text, we would say that what was revealed by God exists in the mind of God. So whether or not the Bible existed or not, He was always going to recompensate
like he was recompensating the rats that were us. You're saying
everything.
like so they like lived eternity in heaven or something.
I don't know the details, but I know every
Yeah.
creature of all kinds is loved by God,
Have you
like
heard of the
fundamentally.
Have you heard of
Like
the Great
I'll,
Dying?
I'll give you an example. There's two parts in which God speaks to animals. One in Jonah, and I think another one in. And I gotta pull up the verse. I don't remember, but he literally talks to the cows and says there'll be a time when you'll never not have grass, for example. So like yeah, like he loves everything, dude. No,
Yeah. So have you heard of the thing called the Great Dying? I think it was like
no, what's
250
that?
million years ago. Basically, a super volcano. This was way before humans, of course. Or no, it was more than
Okay,
200. Sorry, it might have been like 2 billion years ago.
oh, it's okay.
You'd have to research it. But essentially, it's like 90% of what was on Earth, sorry, 90% of vertebrate life on Earth died due to a super volcano going off, covering the sun for something like 2 years or something. Or again, I might be getting all these numbers not exactly right. And it was
Yeah.
something like 60% of all marine life died. Like these are the numbers. I think they come out from like fossils and stuff. Again, look into it on how they found it all out, and but that means like fundamentally, like, and that's saying like the species. So let's say like 90% of all vertebrate life species no longer exists. Do you
Hmm.
think that's something God was like, oh, I need kind of like a refresh, like, or like something was off, I need a restart, like the self delete
Yeah, I
button?
get you.
Like,
I'm okay with so this is like questions like these. I can always take like an agnostic theist approach and say, look, I
mhm,
don't know the exact reasons why, right?
mhm.
We can presume, we can speculate. What I do know is that it was not purposeless under our framework. So there's purpose behind it. How painful, how horrible, and how vile it may seem to us, it wasn't like arbitrarily done.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, I guess from my agnostic point of view, could you see in my seat why that wouldn't be congruent with an all good God? Like, or like there wasn't a better way of doing that, or like just skipping that part where you didn't create like a or
I mean,
like
sure, like a lot of like there's a
and I'm
lot.
seeing it from my perspective, not
Yeah, I
necessarily
get it.
you
No,
believe.
even from
Yeah,
mine, right? There's a lot of
yeah,
things that I feel like God could have done better, but that's just me being a dumb human.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I just see it as in even though if one of those animals didn't need to die or didn't have a purpose, then it was not the right thing to do. But I think that that would be the case that there would be one.
Yeah, yeah. If it,
Yeah, so, which we've already talked about. Yeah.
yeah, of course. Like, look, I get it. I can give some crazy stories, right? A lot of it, I'll agree with you, is hard to wrestle with. A lot of it is man-made. So, like for example, there's a story of a situation of a building collapsing in Mexico in which a little girl was crushed, right?
Hmm.
And let's just use humans, right? Because I know Alex likes the deer analogy.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
this is
think
humans, right?
humans are easier to explain due to free will and stuff like that. And I think
No,
that's why we hop
that's what I
to
was
the
gonna say. Yeah, because when you got a
animals.
situation like that, and the entire world was upset about it. I don't think I still have the article. I'd have to find it, but
Yeah.
New York Times covered it. It was covered all over the nation. Turns out, because of cartels, the architects were kind of like paid under the table, and it was some shady deals going on. People actually weren't certified, and so this is why these buildings collapsed. And so, unfortunately, through this horrible tragedy, accountability was finally given, and that shows you that that wasn't God, right? This was humans.
Yeah.
A lot of the, for example, the poor, right? People starving to death. A lot of it is what corrupt politicians taking relief money, putting it in their pockets, and not giving it to the people.
I guess so, like,
Puerto
from
Rico.
the great dying perspective, though, all those animals died not due to their own, like, I guess, free will, or it was
Yeah,
literally
they
a
didn't do anything wrong per se. Yeah,
God created a volcano to uh, destroy, the numbers would be around 75% of the Earth's population of animals.
right.
Um, for what, I guess? I like I just can't even like fathom for what, especially because it's not like he's relationshiping like what he wants from us. It's
What if
not
he just
people
wanted all
free
those
will
animals
that
to
did
be
not
with him?
necessarily exist.
What if he just wanted all those animals to be with him
I guess
for,
then
and that was
humans
the
aren't
method
special
he?
in
Well,
that case.
what do you mean humans aren't special in that case? What is it? How does that?
I
That
don't
doesn't
think
follow
humans are any different than any other animal in that case, right?
in terms of value.
Like, what if we're not Gen 1?
I think we're jumping. Let's go back.
What
I'm
if
trying
we're
to
Gen
understand,
3?
I'm
Gen
trying to
3 humans.
understand what, like, there's a million things we could postulate as to why that happened. Arbitrary wouldn't. I understand it would be maybe your first instinct, but I hate to like. I mean, I hate to pull this, but that is kind of an emotional argument, right? Like you're just saying, like this seems wrong, therefore he shouldn't.
Sorry, so the logical side of
Yeah.
it would be it seems needless, and from the Christian perspective of an all good God, like so like the
Okay.
moral things that God projects onto us in what he says we should will like, do with our own free will, it seems like it contradicts those things, I guess, in my eyes. So I'm if I'm like I'm gonna be a believer, I have to
Mhm.
believe in this God who's telling me this is bad, and then he goes and does the opposite, and that's how I see it.
I
And
get you.
also
Hmm.
he made me and everyone else who thinks that argument is true think that way, or or at least have that perspective.
So you're just frustrated. If he were to
Am
exist,
I
you'd be like, "Ah, this
frustrated?
just doesn't."
Sorry, I'm trying to think of it just from a logical point of view. Like if I was to believe in this God that made these,
Huh?
it
Yeah,
you're
you're
not the
talking about
things aren't
the.
lining up.
I get you. You're talking about the logical problem of evil. I don't think there's a logical problem there. Like, because again, none of this is for naught. Like, sure, if you're just believing a theistic God, deistic God, I agree with you, but you know what I mean?
All right,
God's
so
love and purpose to us was demonstrated through Christ,
yeah,
like visually confirmed that all this is leading to something. It's not pointless, it's not fruitful. So, like, at least for a Christian, this might be hard. Maybe for another faith system, that'll work. But for us, it's like that just doesn't track. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I'm saying an all good God
Mhm. Like, because for
and
us,
would
he's
be
going
all
like
omnipotent.
he stays all
Does
good
not
because
line up.
he's going to make it all good. Like, it's going to get to that point. We're just not there yet.
Um. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it. And sorry. So I understand your point of view.
Yeah.
I was just more explaining my thoughts behind why I find an issue with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Um.
I get you. I get you.
I
I get
think
you.
we agree to disagree. I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
sharing the perspective. Um. What was I gonna say? I was gonna have another point and then I missed it.
You're
It's fine.
saying you kind of like, look, I mean, I don't think anyone expects you to submit to a God that you think is a
Mhm.
monster.
No, it's not. Yeah. Or oh yeah. Sorry, I knew what I was gonna ask. I said,
Hmm.
did we ever finish the conversation on why God never fully denounced slavery? Like in the same sense that he denounced things like, I guess what people will say is like homosexuality
Okay.
or
I
other
got you.
things. I don't know
All
if
right.
we
So
ever finished that
we
conversation
never did. No.
entirely.
And I got some people on the panel that want to talk to you about
Yes, and
that.
then we can do that. Okay, that's fine.
I got
Okay.
you, but I'll give you, I'll try
Mhm,
to keep it short so you can kind of see,
mhm.
which I think you already know the argument for.
And guys, I see a
I'm
lot
gonna,
of passion in the comments.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Please just be understanding that I'm just doing my best.
You're good. You're good. So look, reconcile this for me. So why is it that the
Mhm.
same Bible that endorses slavery condemns kidnapping and forcing people to do labor? Like, why does the Bible condemn kidnapping and forcing slavery, but allow a different form? Do you not believe that the word slavery could be used in different senses?
Yeah, I
Or is
think
there
we were
only one sense of
discussing
the
this.
word?
I guess we were discussing this that the translated word was the word that they used for slave, and they have a different word for servant. So I think in that literal
Okay. So
translation,
you're saying,
they all were
uh,
talking about you still get ownership of like the
huh?
child and the.
Aren't you? I'm gonna, one second. I'm
You're
gonna
good.
share. So
Sorry. So
so
like
you're
I
saying
think.
you're taking, so you're holding a standard we don't hold, as I don't hold, and most
Mhm.
scholars don't hold. It's this fundamentalist view that the word slavery can only be used in one sense.
No,
So if I say
they use a
I'm
different word for something like servant
yeah, but
in the
okay,
same
so
text.
right, but I'm saying
Mhm.
there's senses in the way that you can use words differently. So for example, if I say I'm a slave to the game,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I
I'm
can
not
I
literally
understand
saying,
what you're saying.
yeah. So I to me it doesn't reconcile when the Bible condemns kidnapping and forced slavery on people, but endorses, quote unquote, let's just say allows or permits a servitude, irregardless of what word is used. The context, to me at least, is clear. There is one form that's acceptable, another one that's not. And why is that? Right. And this is where you get into like Near Eastern context. You get into that was kind of how the world was at the time, not in the sense of you be this abusive, horrible, evil person, but in an economy like that, you have no choice but to work for the haves and have nots. I'm not saying it's good. I could even share in your frustration that, like, I wish it wasn't that way. But there's arguments and what we would call divine accommodation, where God slowly gets people to the point, because you've got books like Philemon in the New Testament and Paul talking about how the law condemns slave traders. There's
Yeah.
this slow roll of like God slowly working with humanity to get them to see that this is wrong, and that's why you got early theologians, early Christians fighting and championing
I
against
guess
slavery.
I feel like that is one of the one of the points so that he slow rolled out, while like hard rolling out so many other points that seem a lot less prevalent, or at
They
least
were
to the prevalent to the human experience.
Yeah, like they were culturally significant for that time, not for us now. So like for
Yeah, but
example,
homosexuality, for example, was still pretty prevalent back then and
yes,
still
yeah,
is
and that,
prevalent today. But he
yeah,
was definitive on saying no, right then and there.
mhm.
You do
Yeah, it
not
was
do that.
yeah,
But
that
then
was
but then we talk about something like slavery, and he's like, "I'm gonna slow roll this one out. You
yeah,
can
and
still
so
own the wives and kids, and you can let your fellow Jews free," like,
mhm.
stuff like that. Like, so he's condoning it. Like, he does talk about ownership of humans as something he's condoning.
Yeah, like when I work for someone, they
Mhm.
own me in one sense, not in the absolute sense. So for example, like my boss can't kill
I
me,
don't know. Yeah.
right? You can't kill your slaves. You would be sentenced to death.
I think you have a valid perspective. I feel like in my mind that would be coping with the text or retranslating in a way. At least, like from everything I've read
Mhm.
and understood or
So
consumed, it doesn't
I
seem
got
to
you.
be that way.
All right, so let me ask you this. So when it says anyone who kidnaps someone is to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or is still in the kidnapper's possession, you think that that endorses chattel slavery or something? It's
I think
Exodus
sorry,
21:16.
so we're gonna get in a whole deeper thing that I do think there's
Yeah,
revisionist Christianity and some books of the Bible contradict other books and some
this isn't like every translation. So
yeah, sorry.
okay,
So I meant contradicts as in like someone like Mark might come along it later and then try to revise inconsistencies earlier, or like some
yeah,
things don't line up, I
I
guess,
get you. Yeah,
in the
we're
Bible.
not there yet. I just want to know like
Yeah, we
this
don't.
was at the time of the Near East when you've got
I'm saying,
servitude
so is this
prevalent.
prior to him?
This was prior to the New Testament. This is ancient Near East. This is when God first revealed the any scripture to anybody ever. This was one of the first laws he gave during that time when you've got people who do chattel slavery, which is like kidnapping and forcing, and you've got servitude slavery,
Hmm.
right? Why would God say that that's wrong, but allow the other if there's not a distinction? If they're the same exact thing, the
Yeah,
Bible
I
would
mean,
at least you would say it would
there
be
is a
incoherent, right?
distinction by the two things you said. Like, they are
There you go.
different,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
but they're
So
not
that's what I'm
different
saying.
enough that I think both are completely wrong. And why didn't he like initially say all slavery is wrong, all ownership is wrong? Like, you shouldn't own other humans.
Yeah.
Like,
The same way you would regulate certain things and not outright ban them as to not shut things down
but
completely.
like, would you not agree that slavery is something that you should outright shut down and
Like
ban completely?
kidnapping and like
No,
forcing people?
no,
Absolutely.
no, but
But
even
having
ownership, I guess, ownership of other humans, and not letting the women and children go, but the husband, if he wants to leave after 5 years of, was it 5 years or 10 years of servitude or whatever
that they
that they
can't go.
expressed. So the man can leave, but then he leaves ownership of his like wife and children.
Yeah, there's a
There's like
cultural
specific things
well,
like that. So
okay.
you own them, you literally own. But I'm saying, why did not God
You
not
do you think that
condone
like
those?
negates their humanity or something? Like you can't so I can't like own
No, I'm
my
saying
wife in
it.
a sense? Like I can't
No. I mean, yeah,
in any sense?
I think there's in well, in any sense, I think that can get super vague. But I don't think that's what they meant. Like, I don't think that's what God meant. And
Okay, so
if he did mean
my
that,
wife will I'll give
he
you an
should have
example. So my wife
explained
will tell
better.
you the Hebrew word for husband is
Mhm,
is what is
mhm,
this? Ba'al, which means owner.
mhm.
It's not that she is less human, less than me, or like not valued.
I
There
mean,
is but
mhm.
think about it. There's a cultural responsibility to being a husband, no?
So what's sorry, so what's the letting other people go, like letting another Jew go, like your neighbor go and not be
Mhm.
owned any longer, but his wife and children have to remain owned by you? Like, how would you
If it's a woman specifically?
I think if I'm sorry, I don't have the text in front of me or anything, but
No, I know what you're talking
the
about, but
steps are basically saying the man can leave, but leaves behind his wife and children. So that
if he
he's
wants
his
to,
chill.
yeah.
Well, no, not if he wants to. It's like part of the law.
Yeah, because now we're talking about like, you know, laws in terms of letting people go now.
Yeah, so it's him explaining the laws.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure which one you're talking about right now, but let's see if I can find it.
So foreign slaves could be kept for life and passed down to children as permanent property. Israelites were permitted to buy non-Jew slaves from surrounding nations or resident
Yeah.
foreigners. Allowed corporate punishment in Leviticus and Exodus, provided the slave did not die immediately from injuries. And I'll have to find the part where it says. So then you have to, and then he even specifies that that you need to treat slaves. Masters are told to treat slaves fairly.
Mhm.
Paul asks masters are welcome back to runaway
Yeah,
slaves.
let's stick with because that and then that same passage he says, "Masters treats your slave fairly, and slaves serve your masters." So there's a balance, yeah. But it doesn't mean that like this is endorsement.
I'm saying he didn't outright say this is wrong, like we shouldn't not do this. But
Yeah, it's
then,
regulated
but I'm saying, why would God hard stop on so many more trivial things like
because they were culturally relevant.
homosexuality? But slavery was culturally
God said,
relevant.
"Thou shalt not murder." People
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But God did say murder was wrong, right? Like that's
Say
one
again?
of God says murder is wrong, like
Yeah. Yeah.
definitively, right? Like so
Yeah. Yeah.
he does say so many things are like definitively wrong, but not slavery, and I don't understand
Like
that. Like
when you say you mean like
why does he walk
servitude, not kidnapping though, right? Like we've already conceded like he condemns that, right? Like he
literal
condemns
ownership passed down to children of human beings? Like those that
in
is the word.
yeah, and in a sense, right? Not in the absolute
I
sense
think you
of
have
their
to
Mhm.
retranslate so many words that it becomes undistinguishable with what the words are actually saying.
Like
And then it's an
okay,
issue
so
of like how God presented it, I guess,
all
to
right.
the
Yeah,
humans.
let's so here's the issue that you're running into. You're not factoring in why this language is being used like at all. You're just saying, look, it just says they're owned and that's it. Like, do you think that means like they're less human or something? Because like the
Well, no,
government
I
owns
explained
me.
some of the
Listen to what
original
I'm about to tell you.
translation.
Like the
Yeah,
government owns me in one sense because of my military, you know,
yeah,
service, right?
yeah.
Doesn't
You are
mean that I'm
actually yeah,
like
more
literally,
than
right? Like I
anyone else.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like if a draft happens, like I'm cooked. I'm going, right? But that doesn't mean I don't have any rights. That doesn't mean I'm not a human. That doesn't mean I'm less than other people. So they own me in a sense.
Okay, so here, sorry, I found the core thing.
Sure.
So, if a man entered into slavery already married, his wife was set free with him at the end of his 6 years of service. Married during service, if the master
What?
provided the slave
Yeah,
with a
let me hear.
wife during his time of service, and she bore him sons or daughters, the woman and her children remain the property of the master.
Yeah,
Only the man
where's
can leave.
I got you. Where's this at again?
I can figure out the exact book.
Yeah.
Exodus 21:4 is where the
Okay, yeah, I
rules
was
are.
there. I just gonna find it. Okay, yeah, let me see. Okay. We got to start from the beginning,
Mhm.
right? It says these are the laws that you are to set before them. Hebrew servants specifically. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall go free without paying anything. If he comes alone, he can go free alone. But if he has a wife, when he comes,
Mhm.
she is to go with him. So if he already has a wife
Mhm.
and he decides to become a slave in a sense, right?
Okay.
They both leave together. Okay. So that's established.
Sorry. One quick thing is why didn't they use the word servant like they have in so many other passages in this passage?
Because you can use words in different senses. Like again, I'm not gonna ever grant that like you can't use the word slave
would you
and still
grant
have it mean
would you
different
grant
senses.
there's a possibility that they were using the word slave as what we see as slave?
1 second.
Like,
right
is there
here.
any
This one.
percentage chance that that is the case?
That they like got no rights and they're just like property basically. They're
Yeah.
not even humans.
Well,
No,
there are
because in that
humans, but they're
Yeah.
being they're property to these. I mean, like literally says property.
yeah, you can
But
be
there
property in
are
a sense, yes.
But
Like
so
I'm
I'm saying
property, yeah. Like
how
I can
we
be
treated
property to the government in a sense, yeah.
like similar. I'm saying from the sense that like how we treated slavery in the South.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I'm saying, is there any? Of course, maybe not
Yeah,
even to
so
that extreme. But let's
yeah,
say
let
to a
me
similar
meet you in the
extreme.
middle, Cam. Like I
Yeah.
get that in the US specifically,
Mhm.
they would say you are property to dehumanize you.
Yeah.
The Torah, right? This part of the Bible, they're not using property to say you're now not less human, because if you killed that person, you would be put to death, because a life for a life, a human for a human. That's still applied. So there, I agree with you. But what's happening is that
So what do
yeah,
what is the servitude like where you can't escape unless you pay a fee and serve so many years and you can be passed down through children?
yeah, because the presumption would be that
That's a
I got you.
servant? Like that
Yeah,
doesn't seem
so
escapable
yeah,
and like your pay
so
is also controlled.
if you are becoming a
Mhm.
slave to someone in order to gain something, whether it be property, just a way of living, there is a cost tied to that.
Now, do you think these the word slave being used, those people that were those slaves or servants, they could go
Mhm.
be a slave or servant to someone else without having to pay out or to escape or to, and could all of the slaves do that, including the women and children and, or I guess all the servants? Could all those people just leave at their own free will and like fruition?
But you wouldn't make the deal if you were planning on doing that to begin with. If you wanted to leave, then there would need to be some sort of compensation. You don't
What if they were
so
being
again, if
mistreated? Like if you're being mistreated at a job, you just leave.
then the judges will handle that. It's covered in Deuteronomy 1.
But I'm saying how God is permitting it is in a slave
Yeah,
ownership
if there
way,
were
at least,
Mhm.
at the very least, ownership way.
Yeah,
Like owning
if
other
there was
humans.
I got you. If there was unfair treatment of a person, that would be handled by the judges in Israel and it's in
Do you think it's
Deuteronomy 1.
unfair to not give someone their free will,
Of course.
like to leave?
Yeah, if someone's truly being oppressive to you, they would be violating the same chapter.
No, so I'm saying like the women who weren't allowed to leave, or the children that weren't allowed to leave.
Well, we
Sorry,
didn't get to that part.
I know, I
Yeah.
don't think you got to that part, but
Yeah, we didn't get to that
yeah.
part. So
Well, and even
so
the man's not allowed to leave until a certain amount of years of servitude.
yeah, because that's a contractual agreement. That obviously, right? If you sign up to someone for 6 years and you leave,
Yeah,
who's
but
in the
he's
wrong?
saying it's from a full.
Yeah, you're adding
Well,
in the factor though. You're adding in the factor this. If okay,
biblical.
it says is the contract is this: he will serve you for 6 years. That's the contract agreement
So
in the
who's
very
signing
beginning
that
of the chapter.
agreement? Do you think the slave or servant is?
It says here if you buy a Hebrew servant, he's to serve you
Wait,
for
so
6
you're
years.
buying him. He's not applying and then getting hired. He's not like, hey, I'm down for this agreement.
That's not in the text. Yeah.
No,
I mean, look,
he's physically buying a human.
So you could sell yourself. Yes.
Well, do you think these people are selling themselves?
Yeah. You can sell yourself. If you're poor, you can sell yourself.
Do you think these people were selling themselves?
Yeah, because they were poor. Yeah, you don't know the Near Eastern
And
context
so then,
of what was happening.
do you think that's a fair agreement in the first place, in the sense that these people didn't
If you
have
don't
any other
have
choice?
anything, if you don't have
Yes.
anything at all, yes.
But I'm saying
You would rather sell yourself for 6 years and leave with like more than start with nothing and have nothing. Yeah. Especially in that context, in that situation. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not like saying it's oh ha ha he, but
okay, like what if they just realized they made the wrong decision, or like, hey, they got a better offer somewhere else?
that would be handled by the courts. This is
I'm
the
saying,
ancient Near East, man.
Would you agree that that's a negative thing, though? Like we would, I think both agree that this form of slavery is a negative.
Yeah, if it was up to me, I would hope
Even
that
the
no
servant
one.
form that you're saying, and that's
If
written in the
it was
Bible.
up to me, I would pray that nobody be poor. but that's just wasn't the situation that they were in.
God not only condoned, he made laws that said ownership of humans, even if it's for 6 years, is permittable. And a lot of slaves can be, as long as, and that's only if they're of the same, like, they're also Jews, right? Israelites. Anyone else is passed down through children, so they did not make the deals. Like, you can take foreigners and keep them and pass them down to your children. So those people are just out of free will, right? Like, they don't get free will to just leave.
They're your responsibility, yeah. The person who owns them, yeah. In a sense. Again, like,
No, but
would
what
you
is
rather
the
that would you
explanation
but
for
would
that?
but would you rather them like go to like a Canaanite and like get sacrificed their children, or be
No,
in
I'd
Israel
rather
or
give them the
expand?
free will of making that decision, even to be owned by you. But they weren't
Yeah, and
given
God,
that
and
choice.
yeah, God was working
Or,
towards
like,
that.
instead of being passed down to your child, maybe they would want to leave at that point. Like, maybe your child wasn't as good of an owner, but they were never given that
And I'm
choice.
sure that's just as viable of an option. That's why they had courts, yeah.
I don't think that was I think we're lying to ourselves if we actually think that was a viable option.
No, it was, yeah.
Look at that region of the world today. Do you think that's a viable option for people in those similar situations?
That would be an anachronism. We're talking about the ancient Near East, right?
Yeah, which I think would be worse. I mean, like, if we're just using, like...
No, you're presupposing that. They had judges, they had courts, they had ways of appealing to people.
I feel like you're being intellectually dishonest. We have...
Okay, then let's read it.
We have courts and everything right now. We have ways to appeal to people
they
right
had
now.
Do
you think they were treating murder equally to what they treat it now?
Yes. Do you want me to show you? Because you're saying I'm being dishonest. I'll just show you.
No, you're saying like eye for an eye situation stuff. Is that what you're talking?
No, murder was capitally punished.
Yeah.
And if there people were falsely accused, it was handled by the courts. I gave you verses. Deuteronomy 1.
How many people do you think died in wrongly?
It's not about what I think, it's what it
corporal
says.
Punishment.
Huh?
I said, how many people do you think died from corporal punishment that didn't?
We don't know. You don't know that either. I think you're jumping around too much, because I think you're...
Oh, yeah, sorry, we are jumping around a lot.
Yeah, I think you don't like that I'm giving you sufficient answers to everything you said. Remember, you've already conceded.
Sorry, so the only thing that wasn't sufficient is, I think you conceded that this is a negative thing, right? Like, the ownership of humans in the of the foreigners, and I know we didn't get to the women and children part yet. The ownership of those people and them no longer getting free will, and them not having the choice to just be like, yeah, I want to leave, or I want to go work for this guy. I want to be...
Yeah, you're kind of like supposing that was not a thing, when there's plenty of situations in which that
definitely a thing.
They had no choice at all. You think that?
I think God was condoning that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that in anything. I've read a lot of the Bible. I'm not seeing that, man.
So I'm saying,
I'm not seeing that they have absolutely no chance.
Okay, so I guess what is the difference between an Israelite getting to leave after 6 years by choice versus someone who's a foreigner and can be passed down to children? How would you translate that and separate those two? Like, they're both equal? They can both
in leave? Humanity? Yeah.
No. In humanity, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying from the biblical text, God separated those two people, and with significance enough that they do have different rules. These people aren't equal to God, at least in this sense. He's explaining different rules about how to own them.
Do you think they were just not let go, like, in any sense at all, or something? Because there were periods in which everybody was released.
Okay, so I think...
Because listen, all this
go. No, I'm saying God created rules to say these people can be handed down to children through generations. Like, you will be owned forever. Their free will not.
Yeah, that's not
forever.
That's not like a thing. That's only you, like, eisegeting the text. You're reading it and saying this is absolutely universal in all situations.
It's the rule God made, though, is what I'm saying. That is the rule God set for the
so people. This is like you reading it as a fundamentalist. I don't subscribe to that, right? So when we read the Torah, there are parameters that, although may not be explicitly listed, this is why they had judges who could determine for themselves whether or not someone could appropriately be released or not. Just because it's not explicitly in the text, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. In fact, when you keep reading past the Torah,
No, so I'm not
you'll see.
disagreeing that
Let me
it
let me
didn't
finish real quick.
happen.
Let me finish real
Yeah.
quick. You really need to hear this because it's gonna sink in. When you read a lot of the situations that happened outside of just the laws, right? They were treated a lot like how they are today, in the sense of, yes, this was the benchmark, but not the absolute. You didn't have to kill someone if they killed someone. You could do another punishment. You could compensate. You could find out more details and realize, wait a minute, this isn't as grave as we thought it is. It worked a lot like a modern court system, actually. So this idea that it was just this dogmatic black and white thing, I don't buy that, at all.
You're
Because
saying what he was saying was more grayscale, like what God was saying,
it was
rather than black or white.
more to teach ideals, not to teach absolute laws that this is the only way to do things. No, it's not what the Torah was for.
Do you think he was giving absolute laws when saying certain things, like why foreign slaves can be passed down versus, or servants? We'll even use the word servants. Why foreign
in certain
servants
senses,
could
there's
be
an
passed
application.
down through generations.
There are certain applications
and
in which
some
that
get to be free.
Yeah, let me give an example.
don't.
Like there when you read past that and you go to, like, let's say Joshua and Kings, those laws would be applied to something like war captives, for example. Wouldn't be necessarily applied to everyone in all contexts.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying war captives that God told them to slaughter.
I mean, if someone took New York, do we not have the right to take it back? Let's say a foreign nation came and took
it back. Do we have the right to then create own everyone who we took it back from, and then have them passed down through generations, where generations of kids get to own them as their workers and slaves? I don't think so. And I think
I agree.
if there's a rule
it wasn't always
we are allowed to do that, I would
mean,
say
look,
that person's weird.
I think you would be pleasantly surprised, and I gotta open up the panel because it's getting late.
Oh yeah,
you would be pleasantly surprised at the way that these laws were applied aren't so dogmatic as you think, especially when you continue reading like how things played out. Right.
I guess, like, Yugi, if I told you you can own anyone outside of your state, you can own anyone, and you can like, if you want them, not any other rule. If you want them, you can own them, and you can pass them down to your children if they want servants. But if you get someone in your state, you buy them, so you treat them fairly, and after 6 years they can decide to leave or not. Like, do you think something sounds off about this situation? Like from a human to human.
Hold on. What'd you say?
So
one more time. You said that if I could own people or something.
So you can take any servants you want from outside of your state, and those servants are servants to you for life. Like, without choice. If you want them, you get them. Like, it's not like them making
a choice.
Like, you go into their state, you take them, they're yours.
Yeah, I mean, the context in which that was used in the Bible was mainly for war captives.
So, well, never.
That's what I've seen.
That, so maybe he needs to explain a little bit better.
Yeah, I've seen it mainly applied. Say again?
Yeah, so I'm not saying it can't be mainly, but the rule wasn't explicitly that. The rule that he was making was what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, rules can be applied differently, right? Like,
yeah.
So let me give you an example, right? Like.
No, sorry, I just wanted your yes or no answer. That me saying these rules to you right now, you can take any servant you want, you can pass them down to your children through lifetimes. And, if you take someone in your state, which not take someone, you buy them and they agree on it, let's say, they sell themselves to you, they're your servant for 7 years, and then they can choose to leave or not. Like, do you see anything wrong with that? Like, even as servants, you get to own another human being.
In a sense, so if someone's under your tutelage, your responsibility, in a sense, you own them. I think that's like maybe where we're gonna like run into a wall here. Because again, ownership doesn't entail like this sort of like weird tyrannical.
Sorry, so I'm saying ownership without the ability to leave.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the text. Like you can't leave at all in any circumstance.
So I'm saying, why did God permit the ability to leave for some people in the text? Like why?
Yeah, I'm not
Was,
granting that in no context they couldn't like leave. Yeah.
So
Like they
that's where
could.
I'm going to that thing. Why would he say these people get to leave after 6 years and then these people can be passed down through children? Like otherwise he would specify, well, these people are 6 years, these people are 10 years. Like but he said, no, these people are 6 years and these people can be handed down through your children. And these people are your own property.
I get you. Yeah, the way that the law is written isn't going to be extensive, but they would have understood that, considering that judges were to be set up case by case, situation by situation. This is going to be applied in certain contexts. So, for example, again, the law about tinted windows, that may be universally true that it's wrong in certain contexts to have a certain tint, but it may not be enforced strictly, right? It may be more enforced in certain areas. Yeah.
I guess even what you're saying enforcement wise, though, like these courts, like, do you think they were entirely fair back then? Like in the sense that like the people with the money weren't getting their way? The people who are owning people aren't getting their way. If you're an Israelite and someone else is a Canaanite, you think the Israelites not getting their way?
I mean, if God's present, he's going to make sure that his people are treated fairly, and people who are with them.
We're talking about the actual real world situation that's happening in those courtrooms. I'm saying, like, from a human perspective, all these humans and how they're being treated. Do you think they're getting fair due justice if you're a Canaanite being owned by someone else, by an Israelite?
God does not like you treating the poor badly, children badly, widows, orphans.
Well, God wouldn't stop the free will of these people.
But he will certainly punish them for their violation of his rules. Yeah.
Well, but his rule.
You want to jump in?
Yeah, you're good.
No, we got a lot of people who are wanting to talk. So, I mean, look, we can go back and forth all day. I think the fundamental issue we're going to run into is that
the translation that you're having.
No, it's a benchmark, not an exhaustive list of what to do and what not to do. That's it.
Yeah.
And even when you continue reading past,
I'm saying Joshua, even the benchmark seems wrong to me, and I just wish he would have outright said slavery bad, just like he did with everything else.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you weren't necessarily there, so you're kind of reading it after all the stuff that's happened.
I think we both get our points at where we're coming from.
Yeah. But I get where you're coming from. You want to speak? You want to say something? Look, you can go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'll mute up if you want.
You can come on the camera if you want to.
I'm good.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Congrats on the baby as well.
Appreciate it very
much. Super
much.
happy for you guys. Yes.
Thank you. I think you can kind of divide it to a few aspects. First of all, I'm a Hebrew speaker. I'm born and raised Jewish. Mm-hmm. So that's my native language. There's importance to say that in general, the word Eved in the Bible could, yes, mean as someone who being owned as property, but it's also being used many, many times to describe other things. So, for example, a servant or even a clerk in the story with Pharaoh, they're called slaves of Pharaoh, if they paro, but they're talking about like his councilmen, the people who are the councils for Pharaoh. There are also times where you can say Evdei David, so like the slaves of David, but he didn't have slaves. They weren't slaves; they were his right hand servants and people who consulted him. Right. There's also in many times Moses is being called a slave of God, Moshe Eved Adonai. Does it mean that now Moses is owned by God and it's becoming his slave? No, Moses was working the Lord. We still today in Hebrew say we work the Lord, and we use the word Eved or Ved, Lavod. It comes from the same root. So the word Eved in Hebrew literally comes from the same root as work.
Mhm.
So I think the translation into specifically slave in the English Bible oftentimes does disservice when taken out of context. And I've had a whole conversation about it yesterday with Stan and Guts. He's also on the panel. That there are many situations in which there are words that you can use,
Mhm.
and then we still use them today, and you don't necessarily give them that same negative context. And as far as even we're not going to talk about Hebrew slaves because obviously they had much more lenient rules and laws to them,
Mhm.
because in the Jewish literature we say that a slave buys his master. So because
Mhm.
oftentimes people would be so poor that you could choose whose master you want, would you want be your master. So who pays you better, who treats you better,
Mhm.
who gives you more.
And I'm
So
sorry, quick question. Is that from a Hebrew to Hebrew standpoint you can choose, or from a foreigner perspective you can choose?
usually from Hebrew to Hebrew, you
Yeah.
could choose, but also even if you're caught in a war,
Mhm.
there would be a somewhat of a distribution, right? So it's not because obviously not every Israelite would participate in every war. So therefore, the people who then would be caught, those who surrendered and didn't fight against the armies, right?
Mhm.
Now are given basically, yeah, you are part of the loot, quote unquote, that we have, but I'm also giving you the opportunity. Your people are gone, your homes are gone, you lost the war, you have nothing.
Mhm.
I now can sell you, quote unquote, into slavery, right? But
Yeah.
I'm also giving you a home. I'm giving you a master who cannot abuse you, who cannot mistreat you, who cannot do any evil to you. And inside of that, there are also like leniencies. So, for example, if a slave even loses a tooth during work, a foreign slave, a Gentile slave, loses a tooth during work for a master, even from strain, he can now be released from slavery. Like you cannot make them or cause them any harm, even like the smallest one. So it's not like now you're being sold into slavery and you're being, whipped around all day long. It's a very different type of thing. And it's also almost, if you think about it, if you leave someone that doesn't have anything now, they lost the war, they don't have a house, they don't have a job, they
Mhm.
don't have anything left for them, right? It's almost even more humane to give them an opportunity to kind of resettle. And a lot of them, what they would do after living amongst the Israelites for a long time, they would kind of adopt the traditions and become Jews at some point. They would become Israelites themselves. And once they did that, the courts then treats them as a Hebrew slave. And once you're treated as a Hebrew slave, you can be released after 7 years. But even then, there were a lot of the times where slaves were treated so well that after the 7 years would be terminated, there would be specific ceremonies that need to be done in front of a court of law. That meant that you're declaring that you want to stay a slave. And the court's position and job was basically to verify that you're not doing it out of coercion, that you're not doing it out of like a bad thing. It's very like there's a lot of things that the Bible or that God doesn't black and
Mhm.
white kind of contradicts or like says don't do it. There are very few things in reality that he does say don't do, right? Don't be an adulterer, don't murder, don't this, don't that, right? But there are many things that he doesn't outright, like there is no outright saying like don't be a pedophile, for example. That doesn't appear in the
Well,
Bible,
yeah,
Bible.
sorry.
But on many occasions we would see a very young marriage in the Bible, right? Because different times people would marry as teens. Life expectancy was much shorter. People would die at 30 a lot of the time. So obviously people would often maybe marry at 14. But you can see that it's not customary for people to
Mhm.
marry off their 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, right? Even though it's not outright said. Many times, even if God said a lot of the things that God said do not do, people still went around and did, right? He said, do not murder. People did not stop murdering. He said,
Right.
I think in a pragmatic way, in a way of a God that sees everything, he understands. I can bend this and then have people still do it, and this becomes like this big sin, or I can make it into a beneficial situation in which people can earn their freedom. Because also, by the way, even Gentile slaves could save up the money that they would make and earn their freedom. They could pay for their freedom. There's nothing that says they can't do it. And again, if you have enough money, you could go to the court, say, I want to buy my freedom. And more often than not, they would buy their freedoms. So I feel like putting it into a context of where we're saying, I understand this is going to happen, whether or not I like it. This is a way of trade. This is how life is happening in this period of time in which we're talking about it. Therefore, I'm going to regulate it to the point that none of my creations are being hurt in the process, that they don't lose their humanity in their process. Because he could have said nothing about it, kind of like he says nothing about pedophilia, and people would exploit that loophole and would have treated slaves much, much, much worse, like they have been treated in other nations, unlike they have been treated with like the Hebrew nation. I don't know if it helps you a little bit to kind of understand this point. I understand where you're coming from, because I only came to faith like 3 years ago, so I battled a lot with these questions throughout my life. I came from being agnostic to being completely atheist to exploring other religions, and in the end, going back to faith and finding Christ. So I think these understandings that like we can try and outright ban anything, but most of the times people, because they have free will, they'll do whatever they want. I much rather know that if somebody does something that's inhumane, they would be judged and they would be punished, and that God set a law for it, even if he didn't outright say, don't do it. I don't know if it makes any sense.
Yeah, you made sense. Like, and I think you have a lot of valid points. I guess, like, and even with what you're saying in an idyllic world, like all that sounds pretty nice. Like, and you're saying in the cases that, and I'm sorry, I'm just giving you my perspective. I'm
That's
not
okay.
saying you're wrong with your perspective. I'm just giving you how I view it. That even if everything you are saying is correct, like as far as we're mistranslating it and stuff and
Mhm.
misunderstanding, and I don't even think my issues with the word slavery a whole stop. I think the bigger thing is that he specified why Hebrews have a chance to leave and other people. He didn't specify that other people do have the chance to leave, and it might have been the case that people did have the chance to leave. I'm just saying it's weird.
Mhm.
It's
But
weird that he didn't
it is in the
specify that.
Bible. If you go into it, you can find all the reasonings as to why a Gentile slave can leave as well. It's just
Well,
a
I
different
mean,
situation, obviously.
yeah, that they can be passed down. And I think something that bothered me a little bit that you said some people would be treated better if they were to, convert. I feel like,
It's
I don't
not
know,
treated
something
better
feels
if they
off
were to
about that.
convert. I'm saying
Or
that
the ability
naturally,
to leave as well.
living within a tribe of Jews,
Yeah.
you kind of automatically, and that happens also vice versa. Like Jews that lived among Gentiles lost their Judaism and start practicing
Yeah.
paganism. We see this
Yeah, like
also
it
often
naturally
throughout the
will happen
Bible.
from your surroundings and stuff.
Exactly. So
But it
a lot
seems a
of
little
people do it, and
coercive in
obviously, when
my
you change
in my
status, you
opinion.
change your law.
Yeah. It just feels a little coercive though. Like for example, yeah, like if I was, I don't know, if I was captured in any country, I would take on their ideals to hopefully get better treatment or also hopefully be able to escape someday if that gave me even the slightest advantage.
Sure.
And I think having that as a prerequisite, I don't necessarily like that. I'm not saying it can't be the case.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I think as far as God not outright saying what's wrong and stuff, I honestly wish he would have stopped things like, selling off young kids to marriage. And I wish those things would have been brought up. I guess that's from my 2026 perspective,
Mhm.
of course. Like it is a different perspective and different time.
Yep.
But Yeah, and I guess here's a question: Is he almost like colluding against free will at certain points in this? Like, I don't know. Some things feel weird. Like, of course, you're going to be coerced. Like, even as far as I know, you're talking about ownership from like God doesn't own these people. But if you were like kind of what we were talking about the coercion thing, are you more, if you have a God looking over you, you are more likely to make those right decisions, which are going to affect your free will. Like these people aren't making the decisions based on their
You would
free
have to
will.
make the argument that setting boundaries is somehow coercion. So, like for example, if I say to my wife, "Hey, do not say this in front of my parents if you love me," for example, and she says, "All right, look, I don't want to upset you. I love you. I'm not going to say that thing."
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't be coercion. I think setting
I
boundaries
guess,
is
but
perfectly
it would
valid.
be
No?
to the extreme of those cases, like where you're saying, "Don't talk back to my parents, or otherwise you're going to spend eternity in hell."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah. There's a difference between like
yeah,
who's saying it and
we're
who you're
talking two
doing it
different.
to. I'll agree
Yes,
with that.
yes,
Right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes. I
yeah.
think the
It would
target.
be more grievous to offend God than offend me.
And so,
Sure.
like for the literal sense that we're talking, I guess you saying like I don't know, like I can't remember who you said, if it was Mark or something, or Matthew, that he wasn't owned by God. You would still want to be in line with God to not receive
Yeah,
eternal
but
punishment.
I mean, I'll word it to you like this. I understand that to us, it would be rational to use caution when you're when you're hearing the instructions from the God. You would be careful to not violate that, right? But
Sound like
Yeah.
that's
Gregory, the God,
the God, yeah.
My God.
But the thing
the
is,
God.
that's just in our human nature, and unfortunately, in our frailty, we don't do that. And I appreciate that you're saying, "Hey, look, like they would consider who they're talking to, who they're dealing with," but unfortunately, and even in the text itself, it's just not a thing, and it shows how real we are as humans, and it still doesn't negate like the relational component where you've got an infallible being wanting still some sort of genuine, real relation with
Yeah, and
fallible
I guess I
creatures.
was connecting it a little bit to like, we talked about a Gentile turning into a Hebrew to avoid consequences. Like I think we'd both agree that would happen, and they would be more apt to do that if they were given benefits, or also like the ability to get free, things like that.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
real quick,
But
I don't want to cut you off,
I
but we
do
got some other.
appreciate
Mhm.
Lola's like perspective, and I think it's awesome that she can translate more
Yeah, she
literally.
was saying I was getting cooked, so she had to fix it.
No, you aren't getting cooked. What are you talking? I'm the dumb
Anyway,
one. I'm just, obviously
no,
I'm
you're
the
good.
one without information. If that helps you guys out, like,
No, it's okay. It's okay.
it's not-
All right. Anybody else? I think I pulled Bunny up, unless you want Guts to go first.
You pulled Guts up first.
Oh, okay. Okay. Guts, go for it, man. You got anything to add,
Oh,
remove?
any
okay,
shit
Go for it.
talking you want to do? Yeah.
sure. Nah, we don't gotta do that. What's good, Cam? How you doing, bro?
What's good, Guts? Or what do you want to be called, Guts or Stan? Or
Oh, whatever you want, it's fine.
all right. Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the conversation has been pretty interesting. You guys have had some good points you guys made and talked about.
Yeah, I think the first two were better because we had more stuff to talk about, but this was kind of filling in gaps. Yeah,
Yeah. Are you guys gonna do any more after this?
possibly. That's up to Yugi.
Okay.
Eventually.
So
No, I mean, I've been
the
enjoying
plan
them all.
is it is the weekly sit down. So the plan
Yeah.
is
Okay.
every week, but that day may change because of scheduling, right?
Yeah.
So
Fair,
yeah.
fair. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what you guys. So on the slavery topic, I do
Yeah.
have a couple of things to add. I agree with a lot of what Lola and Yuki have said, but I am going to be honest. I do think it's incorrect to call it slavery at all. I don't believe that slavery. So here's the thing: ancient societies aren't the same as ours. So slavery as a concept is something that develops over time in different
Mm-hmm.
sociological contexts. So if you look at, for example, lots of
Chocolate.
yeah, huh?
Sorry, someone said he prefers to be called chocolate drop.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that was funny. And yeah,
Yeah,
that
sorry.
was
Sorry,
funny.
didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no, you're good. You're good. I was
Oh
laughing
yeah,
at
you
that
were saying
too.
the translation.
But yeah, yeah. So like in different indigenous cultures, for example, they have very low social hierarchy system, depending on like what type of culture they are. So if you have
Mhm.
hunter gatherers, they're gonna have a less of a hierarchical system. So when you look at like the ancient Near East, like ancient Israel, especially, but even a more highly developed civilization like Egypt, Egypt actually didn't have slavery, and so like a lot of people, especially like these type of biblical conversations, are gonna be like, what, weren't the Israelites slaves in Egypt? And it's like, actually, no, the Bible never says that. So like even the word translated as slave and modern translations, if you look at the older ones like the King James Version, they don't use that word. But and that there's a reason for that, by the way, because slave comes from like Slav anyway, and that I
Yeah.
don't I don't remember exactly where that entered English, but even that is a more
Mhm.
recent thing, which is one of the reasons they don't use slave in older translations. But anyways, when you look in Exodus, it doesn't call the Israelites slaves ever, or even servants of Pharaoh. It uses specific language and different contexts. You get a feeling of what they are, which is prisoners of war. So the reason they're being put to work is because if you read the beginning of Exodus, they're viewed as a national threat to security because they're growing their population. And so the Egyptian leadership is suspicious of this and they don't like it because in their minds, they might team up with another foreign entity, attack Egypt, and then just flee after and just take plunder them and everything. So what they do is they decide to imprison them. And so they segregate them into a certain specific area and then they put them to work on national projects. This is prisoners of war. They are not slaves. They do have some rights as well. That's why if you look, for example, like Moses's parents, especially when they get older, they don't appear to be working or anything like that. So like they do have a period of time where it's like they're retired from their national service to the state. And the reason this is important is because the only people that are the term of Ved is used for are the Egyptians in Exodus. That's why Lola had said they were like slaves. It uses that term for them because it's true. That's the only people in Exodus who it uses that term for. So what that shows us is that a Ved does not mean slave. A Ved denotes subservience. It doesn't mean slave. Theoretically, it could be used of a chattel slave, but again, they don't really have that concept back then because societies haven't advanced to that point, to be honest, in these areas. And what's interesting is that this has been the case for centuries in different parts of Africa, because even in like Western Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, one of the reasons you see this buying and selling on their part is because they don't have a concept of like chattel slavery for a lot of these kingdoms and societies. They don't understand that, hey, if you sell this guy to this Englishman, he's going to be he's going to be property and he's going to be a slave for the rest of his life. They don't have that concept. So now when we go to the Israelite context, it's important to note Leviticus 25 is the only place in the entirety of the Pentateuch that describes Hebrew servants. I don't know if you know that, but that's the only place. And what's interesting is in the context it appears, what is said before that is that Hebrews should not make servants of their brothers. But the problem with that is that we clearly see they do.
Mhm.
Now, I would argue that's not a contradiction because I don't hold to what's called a deontological interpretation of the Torah, which is what you probably would have held to if you were a Christian in the past. And it's probably how you're interpreting it now. That's why Yugi earlier was telling you he's not a fundamentalist because he doesn't take a hyper literalistic kind of like deontological interpretation of the Bible. And the reason for that is because the Old Testament contradicts that time and time again. So, like, just as a quick non slavery example, if you look at adultery, for example, it says, like, oh, adultery is a sin. You put people to death for that. Well, the problem is that God never actually calls for that to happen, and we never see an example of someone being executed for adultery in the entirety of the Tanakh. And what's interesting is that David committed adultery, wasn't executed. God never even told anyone to execute him. Uh, a prophet's wife, Hosea, his wife was a prostitute, and she was, getting clapped left and right. Never once executed, or no one even thought to stone her. God never told Hosea to stone her, and the reason why is because these laws are not. First of all, they're not laws. They're guidance and they're idealized teachings about like an ideal society. Like so, they're meant to be sort of like a thing that you ascribe towards, not necessarily something that's literally expected. And this is not connected directly, but that's actually one of the reasons Jesus did not stone the woman for adultery, is because the point wasn't ever to literally do this. The point is that you take adultery serious and you understand that it's a very like, grave sin to do that to someone, to betray a covenant of marriage like that. But anyways, back to slavery. Yeah, when it's in Leviticus, the term used for property there, because you kept saying like their property. The
Mhm.
problem with that is that it doesn't mean property in the modern sense, and that word is not the best translation. The reason why is because it actually specifies in Leviticus that God owns the land, and it's not the same word used for property. So if God owns the land, then like what that shows us is that in other places says like other people own the land. What they're talking about is use of land. It's not literally owning the land. It's not like today where you can purchase a plot of land. uh, in that context, what they're talking about is owning the use of the land, use rights. It's kind of like in modern times we have a different word for it, but it's basically like leasing. It's like you own the lease contract, so you can use it for maybe it can be passed in your family, but you're not owning the land. You're simply owning the use of the land, and that is a distinction in the Bible. So when it's talking about owning people, it's not actually ownership. It's talking about use of their labor output. And this is an important distinction to make. And this is what we get to, like what Lola was talking about with translation and some of the issues that come with it. But it's talking about labor output. So if you come to Israel and you're a foreigner, right? Who owns your use of output? So any person that you get into a contract with, they own it. They have rights to your labor output for an indefinite period of time. And
So is
what's
that the
interesting,
sorry, quick question.
no,
Is
go
that
ahead.
the
No, go ahead.
decision of the foreigner or the decision of like the Israel state, I guess? Or the
Yes,
Hebrew
it,
state?
it it's both. And here's how we know this. So notice
Are they
again in
both gonna make
Leviticus.
that decision? Sorry.
Yeah, so like that's what Yugi was saying earlier, is that when you have these indentured servants, it's not like someone's being forced into it. So like let's say like for
Sorry, yeah,
example,
so I think when Yugi and I were talking about it, it was about the Hebrew to Hebrew purchasing, like them
mhm,
selling their
yeah, it
servitude.
is.
But from a foreign perspective, you think that's still the case?
Yeah, I do. And the reason why is because like you can't have any situations of kidnapping. You can't just like go like kidnap or like go like conquer a village and then enslave them. That's literally condemned. You literally can't do that. And even if you
But
want to do what I was doing earlier and point out that it's not necessarily going to be applied literally, it would
mhm.
be punished in some capacity. You can't just
So
like go
yeah,
slave raiding.
I'm a little interested in your thoughts about like you're saying, like God would not permit owning slaves, but he was fine with like a genocide of uh the
Canaanites.
genocide of the Canaanites. Yeah, all the
So that's
women,
another
children, and
that's
animals.
that's another thing that Yugi's talking with the ancient Near Eastern context, is that it uses hyperbolic language, and we do this today all the time. It's like the like I don't know what's the team like Golden State Warriors utterly annihilated. I don't know the like for example the Oklahoma what's Oklahoma City's team? I can't remember.
Thunder, City Thunder.
Yeah, the Thunder. Yeah,
Mhm.
we do this today. Like they use hyperbolic language like all the time in the Bible. It's a very like exaggerative text and like how they speak. So,
Yeah.
for example, and Yuki's pointed this out numerous times as well. Not necessarily in the conversation with you.
Mhm.
There's been other contexts and other situations where he's pointed
Yeah,
out.
and
I
I don't
don't
know if
know
you
if you
were in
guys
our
talked about it.
previous streams because we did have a lot of
I
different
caught some of them. I
conversations here.
didn't catch
Okay,
all of it.
okay, yeah.
But what's interesting is that you see an account from Egypt where they say that they utterly annihilated the Israelites,
Hmm.
but we know that they didn't literally do that. They're using
Or the
hyperbolic speech.
Canaanites.
Yeah,
Um,
Canaanites too. But what's
is
interesting is
there a
that in this
reason God
Egyptian text,
afterwards that he was disappointed that he made the leader king because he didn't slaughter all the
you talking
animals?
about Saul?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what's
So like
interesting there.
God afterwards said he was mad at him for not slaughtering everybody or like all the animals.
Yeah, that's true. And
So not only did
the
God
reason
like
for that is like
say
cultic.
yes, but also I'm mad at you for not doing it.
Yeah. The reason for that is cultic reason. So when he told Saul to kill all of the animals,
Yeah, because
that was due
different
to
gods
like
were in there.
exact bingo. So you already get that part. So
The multiple gods thing, like prior, but like of course God
yeah,
being the God of gods, essentially.
right, bingo. So yeah, you
Mhm.
already get that part. So that's why he was saying that. But what's
Yeah,
interesting
I guess
is
from my
notice that
perspective, that
Samuel.
humans are still humans, but
Okay,
like
wait,
that,
but that's what I'm saying.
I
Notice
like
that
that.
when Samuel declares that it's been finished, he doesn't
Mhm,
kill everyone. He actually kills the king. The king was the main target of it because
mhm.
he's the head of the cult, the foreign gods cult. So, like in ancient Near East, kings represented the gods. They
Yeah,
were like Yeah, so like the goal was actually to get rid of the leadership, not the whole people. And so we know this
Well, all
because
the
it'll say
animals too. He
and,
said.
and all the
All
animals,
the
but remember animals are used in what? Sacrifice. So they're property, they're seen as property of that God. So God is purposely, like you said, he's a God,
property as
king
in
of gods,
slaves or
right?
property.
No, property of
No,
the
I'm
like
just
he
kidding.
in
Sorry.
other words,
Sorry.
I get what you're
Crap.
saying, but like in other words, he's killing the other gods' sacrifices. It's
Yeah.
intentional. It's not about wiping out the Amalekites, because it'll say the Amalekites were early wiped out, and then literally a couple of chapters later, the Amalekites are there. So what's going on here? It's hyperbole. They're being hyperbolic. They're exaggerating.
Yeah, I guess my issue is that I feel like, yeah, you're saying there's always a different way to look at the translation or the Bible. God, it just would be nice for God to be more clear about it, right?
Sure, but the problem
Like it
is
just
that
feels so unclear.
even if he were okay, so the issue is that the whole point of like translation and things like that
Mhm.
is there are different philosophies on it. So I mean, sure,
Yeah.
God can be as clear as possible, but if someone's not translating it, so there's thought for thought, there's word for word, which
Mhm.
is literal.
Yeah.
There's
There's
it's
perspective.
like
Yeah.
four different translation philosophies.
Question for you, because I don't feel like this was really completely answered by everybody. What would be your explanation on why he gave Hebrew to Hebrew servants, let's use the word servants if that helps, a end date as far as their I guess servitude, but not for foreigners or women or children that were born into slavery, I guess, or like born from, I guess, women or children. I think the women got owned.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they got to choose that or not, but
Can I just throw something out there real quick that I forgot to mention?
yeah.
So, for example, would you agree or disagree that when a foreigner commits a crime in foreign land, they get a unique punishment that's different than an actual citizen? Do you think
So
that's
I would
wrong?
agree, but these are all not foreigners to a all omnipotent God.
Okay, but that's not answering my.
He's
Listen to
he's
the
the one
point, though.
making the rule, though.
I don't know, but now
Okay.
you're kind of like
Okay.
you're talking about
So
like,
let me answer your question. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you're jumping
We as
again.
humans would treat a foreigner different. Okay.
Okay, but you would agree that in a nation, right? If there's an established nation and a
Mhm.
foreigner commits a crime in that nation, they would be treated like differently than like, let's say, those who are actual citizens. It's the same situation here. I'm not saying that,
From a human perspective, yes.
right, but I think what you're doing is you keep appealing to his omnipotence as if there's no utility to that kind of idea. You see what I'm saying? God being omnipotent and having the omnipotencies has nothing to do with the utility of having a distinction between foreigners who are captives or servants versus locals who are captives or servants.
Does God see them all the same?
That's irrelevant to the point, though.
I mean, answer my question, and I'll have a follow. Does
Sure, I
God see
mean,
them all the same?
in terms of them being one human,
As
because
his children,
they're
as
different
his
in their
children.
allegiance.
I'm saying, as his children, let's say, does he care about them all the same, or are they all seen as equals in his eyes? Like
It
in
depends
his
on what
eyes,
sense you're
not
talking about.
in all senses, I guess. What sense are they not? I guess because then they would
Okay,
not be
if
equal.
you're not in a relation with God, you're gonna have a different sense, you know?
I'm saying, are you
But
lesser than to God if you have a different relationship with God? Like, for example,
in a
you have a stronger relationship with God than I do. I think, right? Like, I think we'd both agree with that. Does
in a
God?
sense,
I mean,
I think respectfully, I think you're kind of moving the goalpost here. The initial issue you had is why does God apply these rules to these people and not equally amongst both?
so
And
I
I'm
was going to
telling
go
you,
back. Yeah, I was going to go
yeah,
back to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So I think if God, in my view, God
I
loves
understand.
all these humans as equals. I guess was the answer I was looking for. These are all equals in His eyes.
That doesn't mean that
Argue
he
with me.
can't set apart a specific, like the whole beginning is that he set apart
Just
a very
all-
specific people for a
Yeah,
specific function, but that doesn't entail
saying
like value. Yeah.
all omnipotent, all good God wouldn't say you own these people differently than you own these people, at least in my eyes. And you guys can disagree with that.
Because you're
God would do that.
presupposing that in a situation in which you're trying to establish a nation that has no utility, You see what I'm saying?
No, like you could say
Yeah, I
all
agree.
people get 6 years out of servitude.
Right. But that's
Everyone
what I mean.
has a choice.
Sure,
serve
but that's what I'm trying
the
to tell you.
master.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you is that there is a political motivation there, just like there's a political motivation to having people become citizens,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not by coercion. You're
Yeah,
not
but-
forcing them. You're not saying you have
Well-
to convert, but there's an incentive.
Convert or
Or
die.
go to the
That's
Canaanite
like
land and
gun to
have your kids
head.
slaughtered.
Gun to your head. You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose.
No, it's more the opposite. They're gonna kill you. God's not gonna kill you. It's actually the
Well,
opposite.
yeah,
They're
it's like
holding the
from a
gun to their
human-
heads.
Well, no.
Yeah,
like,
if you come back,
you're-
we're gonna
if
kill
you're
your
a
kids.
foreigner-
We're gonna do the worst things to you. At
if
least
you're
in
a
Israel.
foreigner who wants
At least
to
in Israel, I'll be treated
released-
as a human being.
No.
At least I'll get a Sabbath day. Oh
Oh,
my goodness,
buddy,
a
at
Sabbath
least you
day?
get-
What?
You're
Right.
the weird thing to me with this whole perspective is you guys are talking in the idyllic stance, like this is Israel back in the day, everyone was living good, everyone was eating good, and everyone was getting all the justice served. It's like, no, they weren't.
Oh well, wait a minute. How do you know that? Let's compare. Let's do dude. I'm down. If you want, we can do a whole series on it. Let's compare Israel's rules and way of living compared to all the other nations. Let's do it.
You're saying all other possible nations? at
All
that
other
time?
no, all nations in the
Ancient
context in
names.
which these rules were written. Let's compare all of them.
So like Assyria, Babylon, that would be dope. Actually, I think you guys.
Yup.
Yo, that's
Babylon.
That's yeah.
Bruh.
But
Come on,
like,
man.
and what you're saying is, if they do better, that's the best that could be done.
I'm saying there's
God
a-
is permitting just better. God
I'm
is
saying
permitting better, not best.
all I'm tackling, and I'm gonna let the other people speak because I
Yeah.
didn't want to talk over them.
No, you're good.
All I'm pushing forth
Oh,
is
buddy, we ran out of time. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, right. All I'm pushing forth
Oh, look at
is that I don't, from our perspective, you keep pushing this as if there isn't any utility to distinguishing who's who, because especially when it's hard to keep census sometimes, you may not have, and when they're nomadic at that time, right? They're moving from place to place. This is the best you're gonna get. This is
Okay, like,
what you
how
should.
about
This is a
this?
system. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's perfect, but it's a system.
Yeah, it's a system that God should have approved upon, like improved upon, prior to setting. these
Presuming
rules.
that it
You're
wasn't
like-
better than the others, though, right?
I'm not saying it wasn't better than the others
That's
at
what
the
I'm saying.
time, but why didn't he
All right,
set
fair.
those rules to the others?
Because he was using Israel specifically, the Israelites. He was their chosen instrument because
Yes,
of their
this is when he set-
annoyingness.
an all omnipotent, all powerful God decided to let other gods rule different areas for some reason, even though he knew that, they weren't going to set these equal rules to all humanity. I don't know. Something seems off, like logically about it. And then
we haven't
also
gotten it.
he also doesn't necessarily want to improve it to the best that he could. He wants to just do better than the other areas. Like, something to me, it's like, let's say he did distinguish them differently. Why didn't he say, hey, they get out in 10 years? And Hebrews get out in 5. Like you get owned for life. Like, it's not like, and I get your wife was saying, like, there were many cases that maybe people were getting out, but that's not what God wrote. Or like, not God wrote, but at least what people interpreted he wrote is that they were owned for life, essentially. Or like, at least that's a possibility that they could be owned for life, which I think there's an issue there. Like, I'm not even saying you can't distinguish. You can make it better than what he wrote. And that's just from a human brain perspective.
Yeah, because you would have done so
I'm
much
an
better,
idiot.
man.
I'm saying I'm an
Come on,
idiot,
bro.
and I feel like I could do better than those rules.
I think you're underestimating the situation, but I understand, like, you don't know, and I'm not. How about this? Let me respond to that, like, literally
Yeah.
head on real quick.
I guess, sorry, so let me ask the one question that I want answered in this response too, is what would the harm be of writing a end date to the servitude of foreigners?
It's not that. So I'll let the others respond, but I'm letting you know, it's not that there is a harm to it. It's just that I think you're doing we're kind of like doing a circle here in that
I
you're
guess, do you
saying,
think God intended that? Like God intended there to be an end date to these servitude? Like the servitude of
well,
foreigners?
there literally is, like, there's the year of jubilees. There literally is. There is an end to it. It's not absolute, but I'm saying there is it. All I'm positing right now is that there is a utility in knowing who's who, and having a very heavy thing like that. That hey, these are lifelong servants because they're from another nation, and they're not Hebrews yet. They don't serve the God of Israel yet. That
Really
to
scare
me,
tactics people into saying Hebrew.
but again, like Cam, it was never forced though, right? It's not for like
I guess it depends what you
when
think forced
yeah, I
is.
get you. Like
Yeah.
the God of Israel is present and very real, and he would still, even if you are, a servant under him, is still not going to force you to worship him. That's not the point that I'm making. All I'm showing,
It's
like,
just going
I
to
think
strongly
because
suggest it.
no, Cam, you're jumping to like
Yeah.
as if he's doing that solely to coerce. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
I
saying
never
there is
said
a
solely to.
yeah, that's not the only
Yeah,
reason. I'm
that's all
saying
I'm
there's a
saying.
utility to knowing who's who, and that's
Yeah.
a very good way to do so. Right? These people have this privilege, function, situation, law. These don't. We do the same thing to this day. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's ideal. I understand. God, horrible. Oh my goodness, he's so dumb for
I never
doing that.
said
Okay.
no. Hey, and I guess I want to preface this too, that
Yeah.
if a God exists, I don't believe in the all horrible God. Like there is that whole belief that
Yeah, I get
there's a
you,
God that creates good to inflict suffering. And the suffering's worse because there's good. So like there's a whole argument that an all bad
No,
God could
I'm
exist.
meeting you in the middle here. I'm saying, look, I can understand the frustration. Hey,
I'm
why
saying
didn't you
there could be a
specify?
99.99999% good God. There could be a 99.9999% all-powerful God. But some of these things don't seem congruent with 100% both of those things.
All right. And look, I'm gonna level with you. I'm gonna pass the buck real quick. I understand 100%. Hey, look, it's frustrating. It seems like there's favoritism. Like I totally get that. All I'm contesting is that I don't agree that it's completely pointless and arbitrary and it's just like favoritism. I think that's a little myopic.
I think we get a little bit back to things could be better, and that's why I have an issue with it. Like things could be better in general, and if they could be better, if even one thing could be better, then God isn't either all good, like, and better. Sorry, better seems arbitrary. If one thing could be gooder, for lack of better words, more good,
optimal,
closer to God. If one thing could be closer to God, optimal, or like, if one thing could be, then it's not an all good God. It's not, or he's not all powerful. So he could be all good, but not necessarily all powerful to make that the case. But I'm saying, in my mind, I think I can think of a million things that could be better. Now, let's say 999,999 of them are for a purpose. I think there's one that's at least not. Like, that's just how I think, like my mind thinks. Like it can't jump that hurdle, I guess.
Yeah, I get you. I would I'm gonna tell you that's a little post hoc, but I'm gonna let the other guys take it from here because I'm yapping too much. Guts or Bunny, if you got anything on the topic of couldn't God have done it a little better or change some sort of change some sort of rule to be a little more optimal or anything along those lines, go for it.
Yeah, and you can ask any questions from any of the streams if you're listening to. We don't have to just talk about slavery or
that's like such a fun topic.
Yeah, no, I'm fine talking about that too. Just so whatever you want to talk
about. Hi, I'm Bunny. I'm an alcoholic.
Very nice to meet you. You said you're an alcoholic.
I'm not gonna be as like
finally someone on my side. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna be as scholarly or
I'm not
smart
either.
as,
No, I'm not scholarly.
Your Guts.
Yeah.
But I will provide you with a more emotional arguments because that's everyone's favorite, right?
All right, I'm leaving. No, I'm just playing. I just play.
Yeah, I think Yugi and I do stray on the like the logical side when we're making these decisions. I love to hear your emotional side.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would always go back to like Galatians 3:28 is the verse I always go back to when I think about slavery in the Bible. And it was it was one of the first verses that like
Are you
maybe
fine
we
if I
came-
look this up too?
Yes, that's fine. I can tell you what it says actually.
No,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
you can
allowed
tell
to
me
look
too.
things
Sorry, I
up.
just.
I'm
Well, no,
joking.
I'm just saying I wouldn't be able to correct you anyways because
I'm joking.
I don't have it all memorized. Hey, I remember John 3:16 because there's a song. Okay,
Hey,
there's a song.
there you go.
Wait,
That's
I could tell you why you're not allowed to look things up. It's because you're not a Hebrew, so you had different rights.
That's true too. No, all my translations will probably be incorrect in some
They're
way
different for goys,
because I'm
not
not
just
Hebrew
playing.
as well. To be fair, but that's a criticism on God too. Make a translation for me to translate it correctly. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, yeah,
Let me get the
God
correct
makes
translation.
translations.
Yeah. At least
Yeah.
translate it to an American here. Let me
Yeah,
figure it out.
King James.
And while
English.
we're on it, can he like figure out a way to like get somebody the recipe for flavor gum that like lasts forever?
He actually did, yeah. Willy Wonka.
No
Yeah.
way.
Thank you, Willy
Yeah,
Wonka.
we can talk about that later. I'm sorry, buddy.
No worries.
You're
no-
saying Galatians 3:28.
yeah, Galatians 3:28, where it's like there's neither Jew nor Gentile, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ. So like,
So you could be
Well-
non-binary.
what? Don't start because I'm going to say yes. So while that's not tackling the Old Testament per se as much as like we would want, I think there is this like really profound thing that the narrative of the Bible is pushing forward, where it's saying like the Old Testament is in the Old Testament, right? The Old Testament is law and it's pointing towards something, and
Mhm.
it's pointing towards Christ. And then Christ says, no longer is there any need for these things, for you're all my children, and I will basically save you all. And I would always think about that and be like, well, to me, what that indicates is that slavery is no longer, not even no longer, I would say it was
Permittable.
never. But if you did think that it was permittable in the beginning, then it is no longer permittable.
But what you're saying, does it apply for non-Hebrews?
For non-Hebrews, yes.
That was a joke.
And
Come on.
animals. How about animals?
I don't know.
That was
Maybe you're trying to set me up for something. I'll just answer it as honestly as I can.
All right, let me stop joking. So
So
I'm just saying, Chocolate Drop said, he said the animals
Chocolate
were
Drop is
property.
crazy.
I mean,
He
Lord,
He said animals were property. I want to.
we'll have to circle back to that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like to me, the New Testament is pushing something that the Old Testament was setting up. So looking back on like the law, well, yes,
And I'm
the
sorry,
law
this
has
might
it-
be a dumb question. Do Jews, like, go by the New Testament at all, or is that totally separate?
Yeah, they're called the apostles.
I was gonna say they're
Nice.
called Christians, but the
But
like Jews
but it
now.
is like they don't go by the New Testament, right? I was just wondering.
Yes,
No,
They do.
Yeah.
They do. They do.
Christians.
they're the Jews that believe in truth.
Well, but you know what I mean. I'm saying that
So-
Right here,
so-
why am I
tradition,
being
the
talked
traditionalists
about?
nowadays,
there's one right
do-
here to the left of me.
Orthodox Jews do not believe.
No, Orthodox Jews do spies.
I'm a Jew who believes in Christ,
do you know
who goes by
Okay.
the New Testament.
I guess not. Wait, you're Jew as in your ethnicity, not your religion, though, right?
Both.
Oh, both.
You know, Jesus is still Jewish.
I'm
He's
Yeah.
Jewish.
Yeah, true.
literally
Well,
like,
you guys
know
my
what I
family
mean.
is
You
still,
guys know what I
still
mean.
Orthodox or low me. It's like a national Jewish.
Wait,
Um,
if Jesus believed in himself when he died, does that make him a Christian?
He's Jewish.
Plot
Always
twist. He's
believe
the
in
ultimate
yourself,
like
okay?
Jewish like Christian. I don't know. He's the ultimate whatever.
He's king of the
Is he
Jews.
Christian or Jewish? It seems a little.
Well, he can't follow himself, so
He
he
can't be
can't be a
both.
Christian. He's
He
Jewish.
can't follow himself.
No,
I mean, can you follow your own shadow?
I know. My shadow
he
follows
can't follow
me.
himself. Christian just means follower of Christ. It's That's all it means.
Yeah.
Okay. But if he believed in Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior, then he made it to heaven. Or how did he make it back to heaven?
You're trolling now.
I'm sorry, I'm
The,
trolling.
the,
I'm
the
trolling.
human nature
He's using,
submitted
he's
to the
using his
sorry.
divine.
ultimate.
Can you guys answer my first question? It just was like, do today Orthodox Jews read the Old
Absolutely not.
Testament?
Usually,
New Old
Okay.
Testament, yes. New Testament,
Like
absolutely
I
not.
don't even have a follow-up question. I was just trying to like knowledge myself.
Nah, bro, they don't,
No,
they
no.
don't, they don't mess with
Okay.
it at all.
I think what
Okay.
Bunny's getting at is that you see
No, sorry.
God
Yeah, I
using
was letting-
he's using flawed humanity to kind of build to an ideal slowly. So for example,
yeah.
Oh,
I'll give one more
mansplain.
and then
Let Bunny talk.
all right, let me just throw this out there real quick. This is very important. All right.
Are you spreading
This
your
is
legs right
New
now?
Testament. Just let me show
Come
you.
on
real
my
quick.
panel, and I'll
Just
talk
look at
over
this.
you.
This is Bunny's turn right now, and you're cutting into it.
Right
All
there.
right, let
this
you
is
talk.
where
It's
Paul's
just-
saying to a slave owner to
Mhm.
receive someone no longer as a slave, but better than a slave as a dear brother. That's kind of part of the point. But I'll let Bunny continue. You're right.
That was added later, bro. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, Philemon. Come on, that's like a forgery.
Yeah. It's all made up.
How do we know that's the right translation?
Right.
Brother, that
You
probably
know,
means
you know what an
slave.
Orthodox Jew would say to that? Goy slap, bruh. Goy slap.
Yeah.
I
Bunch
think
of
brother
goy
probably means slave in that context. You guys are misinterpreting it. They go into a slave. They would go from a servant to a slave is probably what the actual context is.
True. Yeah, like, God is. You said it pretty well. God is using flawed humans to make a narrative throughout
Mhm.
life itself to point us back to Christ. This is why I'm saying that it's a much more emotional argument, because okay, cool, but yeah, can you prove that to me? It's something that I've always kept in the back of my mind when I was agnostic atheist. So like, I don't know, we've never met, but like, I used to be agnostic atheist about 2 years ago or so, 2.5. And then I came to Christ a little bit after that.
Yeah, and sorry, Bunny. Just to, I would say
What?
I lean more towards like something being out there, like a creator of some sort, or at
Like a
least
deist.
like ever-present thing that's outside of our universe. Like, and I don't necessarily know if it's like interacting with us, if it's completely gone now, if it's not all powerful, if it's like, so even though I think and I don't necessarily I don't conform to modern religions. I think Christianity is the one that I'm closest to because that's what I grew up and I understand the most. But and I don't know if you were here the first 2 streams. I know it's something I wanted to point at that Yugi and I were talking about, and I think the first stream is just important. Like, I understand that I think the Bible does put out a lot of good messaging, and I would 100% agree with that. And the way that Yugi and I were talking about it is that I think love, or like we were talking about the hatred towards greed, like how many times Jesus attacks people for being greedy and like worrying about money and rich, and he points out that that's even the people that are going to struggle with making it to heaven the most are the people that are like the greediest, like when we're talking about money and stuff. And I'm like, it's so weird in the world that we live in today that that's not what's pointed out in the Bible, and people focus on things like homophobia and so many smaller issues that are barely in the Bible. Like maybe even a sentence. Some people even argue that, like the homophobia stuff doesn't even exist in the Bible, like translation wise and different things. So I think I do agree with you, but also I see kind of a lot of religions, like there's a lot of overlap. This is something Yugi and I were talking about. I think we lost Yugi, but I know something we were talking about a lot was sorry, I lost the train of thought at seeing everyone leaving.
No worries.
That I think a lot of religions overlap, and the thing that they all have in common is love, and like, being there for each other, understanding, like inclusion a lot of the time. And of course, there's going to be religions that don't include that. But I'm saying this is a common thread I see. And I would be more apt to believe in that, like, you know, people do have different views of this same God. And whether that's seeing it as many gods or seeing it as one God or seeing it like, and that's kind of the perspective I come from, that I think, you know, like,
Sound
if
like the church
anything is
father.
out there, that it would be more connected to love in general, like a see-through line to all these religions.
You're starting to sound like a Christian again, bro.
I would say I align relatively close to Christianity, especially just coming from Christianity, but I think there's a lot of plot holes. If you listen to some of the previous podcasts, we were talking about, you know, the problem of evil, which you heard this time. You know, like slavery's brought up. The slavery thing and the problem of evil are more things as far as an all-powerful, all-good God. Why I can't necessarily agree with that, or like things seem incongruent to me. But then there's also issues with it that, like, I would say here's some more just personal ideas that I have that feel incongruent with Christianity. Is like, there's so many other religions. How do I know that I'm right? Like, there's people that devout their life being a monk, you know, not speaking for a day of their life for 60 years. And I'm going to say, me saying Christianity's right is saying they're wrong. And I think that would be very disingenuous of me to just say, no, but I saw something that they didn't, or, you know, I got evidence that they didn't. So that's one of the things I think, and then like also another personal thing that I think, you know, outside of the Bible is the problem of like regionality, that, you know, like, geez, heaven's probably full of white males from the United States and not very many Chinese men for some reason, because only 10% of China is Christian, or not even, I don't think it's like 7%. So where are all the Chinese men going? Are they not making it to heaven? And I know that Yugi talks
Romans
about...
answers that.
What's that? Sorry? You said Romans.
Romans already says that people are judged by the light that they know. So like a Buddhist who lived like 2,000 years ago is not judged the same way that, like, I don't know, me or you would be judged. So like God isn't going to judge us all by the same standard.
Yeah, and I know Yugi was stating those points, but in the same sense, like, what is going to push a Chinese man to change his views that he said, like, gave his entire life? Like, for example, you and I, if let's say in the afterlife, you know, like, even let's say I didn't accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I die, and in Yugi's beliefs, he believes that God, Jesus Christ, or God, whatever one, or the Trinity or whatever, they'll show themselves to us and say, do you want to be with me? You know, like, almost give us the second chance. I think I would be more likely to be like, oh yeah, I believe now. You know, I grew up in this faith. You know, like, I truly believe. I would be more apt to say that I would make it over someone who's a Chinese person that's never heard of God or barely heard of God, and now he sees the Trinity. He's like, what the heck are you showing me? Like, do you see what I'm saying? And
it's got three heads.
And we're talking China, that makes up like a third of the world's population. And that's not counting India, that makes up another third of the world's population. That we're looking at half the planet probably not making it to heaven. And that's even like charitable numbers, in my opinion, which just seems weird to me. And if we're getting to the traditional belief that you have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Christ before dying, and I don't know if you guys believe in that, or you believe in, like, you get a second chance after death, then I think that's even more of an issue, that these people aren't accepting Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. But I know Yugi's thoughts are more, what would you say, or not, libertarian, I guess, in the modern sense, like, or I don't know if that's the correct word.
A little bit more liberal.
Yeah, like willing to adjust to more modern things. Some of the things that Bunny was saying, I would say, I don't know, like, I know you're joking about correctionist history. I do think correctionist history exists. And I don't necessarily mean in just,
in
like,
what sense?
I don't necessarily mean in like a literal sense for each word. Like I think the point that you were making was that like the New Testament says like off with the old, in with the new, like kind of. And I know that's not your exact wording. I'm
Yeah, I mean, we can
hyperbolizing.
paraphrase. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm just So just so everyone in the thing knows, that's not what Bunny said exactly.
Butchering my words.
I am butchering the words just to get the point across
Plot
quickly.
twist. It is what Bunny said. No, I'm just playing.
No.
But if you were like, I don't know, like from my human brain, and I'm thinking, what's the benefit of humans making up this stuff or revisionist history? And I'm not even saying God. I'm saying the writers of the Bible. If you wanted more people to join your religion, you start creating a more loving, a more accepting, a more idyllic God.
If you don't mind, real quick.
Revenge God. Yeah. Sorry,
I was listening. I'm listening. I'm just doing something. There's something I wanted to drop.
You're good.
I'm gonna drop a bomb real quick because I think now's the perfect opportunity of what you're talking about. Cam, what if I told you that there was a large sect of Christians prior to the modern age that believed that Jesus was literally going to save the whole world, literally?
Okay. Is that something you believe?
I know Christians.
It's funny you asked that.
Yeah.
Funny
So for
you
example, the main two would be like Origin and Gregory of Nyssa.
Except for wait, sorry. Quick question. Sorry, I was gonna make a joke about it, but is the devil in that?
That part was up for debate.
Yeah.
You're gonna have different views,
Mm-hmm.
but mainly it would be humanity. They believe that
Mm-hmm.
God would save all of humanity, and then some believed in different aspects of how that would apply to angels. But that was absolutely at one point an ancient position held by Christians, just so you know.
The two specifically you mentioned did think that Satan would be redeemed as well, and the devils. Gregory and
so
Origin.
I guess this is the point that I'm getting at is like I don't necessarily disagree with those stances. Like if that's what God is, I would be like that would be more congruent with an all-loving, all-powerful God in my eyes. And I would be more apt to accept that as a God. But I more argue the traditionalist view being completely wrong, which I don't necessarily think you guys or Yugi 100% agree with the traditionalist view either. But in the same way that we adapt our thoughts to what the traditionalist view is, I think that's going to keep happening. Like people are going to keep changing their views to fit the narrative, the new. I don't know.
What if the later narrative is that though? Like what if the old narrative was what if the original belief was something like universalism, but like they changed it because like grammatical shift and differences and like philosophy and things like that? What if that's already happened? Augustine.
Yeah, like I think we'll keep correcting. Like I don't think this is the last time we're going to correct like that humans are going to correct their views.
No, like I'm saying, like what if it beats that? So like what if the Old and New Testament have always taught what Yugi just told you about? Like hypothetically, let's just say
that everyone would be accepted.
Yeah, like let's just say like
you're
hypothetically.
Saying would I be Christian if that was the case?
No, but like not necessarily would you be Christian, but like would you think it's more congruent? Like would you think that the narrative?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think in all good like so. There's something that. Sorry, so I don't know if you guys were in the first stream. I talked about a Marcus Aurelius quote, which I'll read off here quick because this is kind of how I live my life. Because as an agnostic, so it basically says, live a good life. If there are gods or a god, and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but have lived a noble life, and that will live on in the memories of your loved ones. So I guess like to the point that the current translation, like without that theory, I think there's some unjustness happening. I guess is the way I see it.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Because
are you a Hebrew? I'm playing. Let me stop.
Yes, in Hebrew, and then in Italian, and then in
Yeah, let me
Spanish.
translate it for you. You said
Perhaps.
slave? No, I'm just kidding.
uh, no, but I'm asking because you keep saying like things could have been better if this or
Yeah.
that. Like what would be then the difference between earth and heaven?
What would be the difference between earth and heaven, like right now?
If everything would be perfect on earth, right? Everything would go good, and no pain, no misery, no slavery, no prostitution, no this, no
I
everything
guess
goes
quick
smoothly,
question,
right? Like
what's the problem with, like, heaven has free will, correct?
in theory, yeah, of course.
I think that's the
I,
belief that they have free
yeah,
will.
but still,
So
what would be the
I guess
difference? That's what I'm asking.
I'm sorry, so what is the
In
whole
heaven,
point?
we are promised to have perfection, right? Heaven is God's
I guess
ultimate
we could be
kingdom.
given a heaven that's separate from God, right? That then he would test our, like, because the devil has
What are we,
free will.
Mormons?
But I'm saying, yeah, like, I guess what I'm saying, there is no issue with another heaven almost existing that is separate from God, that God still oversees. Like, free
What
will
would
is
we learn?
in.
Then what would be the punishment for the original sin?
Wait, what do you mean? This punishment would be the same.
No, it
Separation
won't.
from him for
Because
eternity.
if we have a heaven where everything is ideal and it's just separate from God, right? We don't actually have any punishment for the original sin, right? We're just in
Well,
heaven. There
isn't
would
the
be no point.
separation
He could
from
have
God
just said
the.
at that point, you know what? I know you ate from the one tree I said you can't eat, but just stick around. I'm just gonna be not present. But God decided that was the punishment. He said, you will go down to the earth and you will have to work the ground and you will have to suffer while laboring kids. And I'm gonna tell you, you suffer when laboring kids, okay? Um, so it's a part of the punishment that we have. So I don't believe that it's
Wait,
like
we're being punished for an issue he created.
he
I
did
mean,
create
kind
the
of.
issue.
Wait, God created
He only
everything
gave
in
one
us,
rule,
and
one rule,
then
and
he's
that rule was
giving
not
you the
applied.
solution. He created the issue, and then he's giving you the solution to the issue he created.
He didn't create an issue though. Why is
I
that
guess
an issue?
so. God created us,
So,
correct?
setting a boundary is an issue. That's what we're saying right now.
Not an issue. I guess he created every possible circumstance. I think if you believe in God, right? I
Sure.
mean, like he did create everything.
And
So
again, but at
let's
the end of
say
the
did he
day, I
create
think the
sin?
bottom line is for us as believers, at least,
Hmm.
the difference in to answer basically your question of why aren't things perfect on this planet. It's
Well, and
because
I'm
it's a
not
fallen.
saying
It's
perfect.
like we believe we're in a fallen world,
Hmm.
right? We believe that this is not the permanent world we belong to. This is not where we're going to spend eternity.
Yeah.
This earth, I at least the way I see it and the way that I understand it is that this earth has kind of like a self-destruct mechanism.
So what if
Right?
God? So what if God created a separate heaven that you only had a limited amount of time on to make the decision whether you want to be with God or not? Like what if all the
Depends on how
circumstances
you
was.
believe it. Some people do believe that you have a limited amount of time. Some people
So
believe that
basically, if you want
God,
to be like the devil, or do you want to be like God, like in the sense that you want to
exactly.
turn against
and
God, or
and
do
I
you
that's the
do.
like?
I like
thing.
now
I
like
think that
that.
if you end up looking at this like this, right?
Hmm.
If I look at the situation and I say, okay, I have two options, right?
Hmm.
Option number one is I don't believe in God. I don't. I believe in a creator. I believe in whatever except for the God of Israel and Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, and I just want to point out that
If
that's
if
not
I'm right,
necessarily
no
what I'm saying.
problem. I die and nothing
Yeah.
happens, right?
Yep.
And again, if I'm a believer of Christ right now and
Hmm.
I'm wrong, I die and nothing
Oh, you're
happens,
talking about, yeah.
right? But
You're
if the
yeah,
situation is opposite, if the
yeah.
situation is opposite and I haven't lived life according, like, even if I'm wrong right now, let's say I'm wrong and God doesn't exist, okay?
Yeah, the worst is
I'm wrong
nothing
and God doesn't
happens.
exist. I have
Mhm.
nothing to lose because I still live a life. I don't just live my life because God tells me that's how I should live my life.
Do
I
you
do
remember
believe
what
in
this
the
is
main
called?
principles and morals that the Bible provides.
Yeah.
Pascal's wager.
What was that? Sorry.
Pascal's wager.
Pascal's wager, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
I was trying to
I
remember
don't
the
know who
name of it.
Pascal, but he sounds like a smart guy. Um,
So the issue with that belief is that there's there's a lot of religions that punish you for worshiping false idols. So the wager actually is more complicated than just like, oh, you're wrong or you're right. Like, so someone who is like agnostic or doesn't worship anything, let's say like an atheist, them being not choosing in a lot of religions is better than choosing a false idol. So, and even in Christianity, for example. So let's say, I'm sorry.
No, but that was the baby in the background.
Oh no, okay. She had something to say, and
she always has something to say, man. She's the
"Shut up,
daughter of me
Cam."
and Yugi.
Yeah.
She has a lot to say.
But so that's why Pascal's wager does get a little bit more complicated than just black or white. Like you're either wrong or you're not. There was like a South Park that talked about it, like because Kyle's Jewish, and he's like, "Wait, Jews don't believe in hell." So
yeah,
if I'm wrong,
but that's the thing. Even in Judaism, if you don't believe in
because
God,
if they're wrong, they don't go
we
to
still
hell.
believe.
But if I'm wrong, I go to hell.
But you still believe that regardless of what you believe in, even if you are an idol worshiper, by the way, you will still get to heaven. There is like
so
the
in
whole
so for worshiping false idols.
even if you worship like the most pagan idol of it all in Judaism, you're still going to heaven.
Isn't that the one unforgivable thing?
No, it's not unforgivable. I think the one unforgivable thing is like
you
not
can't just come on and
blaspheming God. But yeah, in Judaism, everybody goes to heaven. You will have to go through different lengths to go to heaven, because in Judaism, you're basically it's not by faith, it's by merit, right? So it kind of depends on what kind of person you've been when you have been on this earth, right?
Yeah, so, and I think I talked to Yugi that's something I would prescribe to more than I guess the traditionalist view that I think is like believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, worshiping false idols. I think is like one of the only unforgivable sins. I thought it was the only.
The unforgivable, I think, is
or just not, or is that just
that's
denying?
the unforgivable thing.
But I guess wouldn't that be kind of connected? If you're worshiping false idols, you're probably denying. I don't know. Maybe that's just
I mean it. It's going to depend on the system of belief. For us, Jesus says there is an unforgivable sin, but then there's a debate on whether or not that's more didactic than literal.
Yeah. So, and so I argue against a lot of the traditionalist stuff.
I would say the unforgivable sin is
and
persistent
the second
unbelief,
thing that I wanted to say,
refusal
because
to
you said before, is that Yuki has a better relationship with God. I don't necessarily see it that way. The way I view it is kind of like God is going to be your neighbor, whether or not you're going to say hi to him in the corridor. You know what I mean? You can just have a reciprocal relationship with God. They communicate as neighbors.
If we were both God's children, like we are in the Christian viewpoint,
that's just how I view it.
It's like he's calling him every day, and I'm like, I'm going to move countries.
You're the child.
You're a child.
I'm distant.
No, you're good. Like we would again, this is what I'm saying. Like sense is so important because you are a child of God in one sense, but in another sense, you're not. You don't want relationship with him, so you're not in covenant with him, right? But your child insofar as you are. He is your ultimate creator. Yeah, in that sense,
we did talk about it a little bit.
But just because like I chose relationship with him doesn't mean that like I'm better than you. Like that's fundamentally.
Oh no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that.
Okay.
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant more like
obviously
you would
there's
have
a difference
better
between
understanding of.
There's a big difference between someone like
I don't remember
you.
what the point was.
Oh, you're good. No, I'm just saying there's a difference between someone like you who's like genuinely like struggling to understand the faith, and you have real frustrations, right? Like despite our disagreements, clearly you're being honest. You're probably the most honest in terms of how you feel than most of what we dealt with.
Honestly, like for a long time, I was almost like afraid to talk to my family about it. Like I have
I get
family that's in student ministry. My parents are strong believers, even though sometimes I think it's somewhat blind. Like I don't think they're doing like the studying or the reading of the Bible or the.
I feel you.
Bunny gets
it. Not that that's necessarily makes you more of a believer or not, but I'm just
saying. Reminds me of Bunny's actually funny now.
But like it's almost like I think similar and not to the extreme because I don't think I'll be disowned. But like if you're coming out as gay or something to a family that is against that, it feels. I mean, to a lesser extent, it feels like like I'm gonna get judged. I'm gonna get you know, like even my mom, I think, to avoid us like being more separate, she's like tells my dad like, don't talk about that, you know, like she'll cut him off because like, and you know, I think they know my viewpoint now, you know, like it's not like a secret,
Yeah, I think this is
but
all
it
Bunny.
does.
I think you should speak to
Bunny?
Bunny on this aspect because Bunny
Yeah.
is literally that. Believes
This
in
is the moment
Christ.
my life has been waiting
Yeah.
for.
I think this is all
I
your
think
Bunny. Go
that's
ahead.
awesome. And I've had people that were gay that went to my church, and I think that's awesome. But it also
Yeah.
sucks that I feel like those people a lot of the time aren't comfortable. And it's like the people judge them when they're literally reading the text that says don't judge and all sins are equal, but like you just sped on the way to church and that's the equivalent to, you know, me being gay, but then you have a like I
We
don't know,
try
they're
to
treating
stay
it like
in the
they're
speed limits. Okay, we try to stay in the speed limits.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's equally as much of a sin as being gay. That's how I view it.
Being gay in and of itself actually
Yeah.
is not a sin, though. To be honest.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think
So
more modern translations actually, or not translations, a lot of philosophers that read the Bible or theologists
Yeah.
don't necessarily even say it was like directly said. But yeah,
so
sorry.
the whole like, I mean, this is a little bit different than what we were talking about,
Mhm.
but I am more than happy to talk about gay and trans shit in the church because that's been my life, bro.
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir on this one.
Oh, I just want to point out too that I'm not gay, but I am. You know, like I'm married. I have a kid.
Okay.
But sorry.
Yo, that's crazy, bro. Okay, I'm glad you put it that out because, like, for a second there, I thought you were saying, okay.
No, sorry. Yeah, sorry if I meant that
You got
like,
Bunny excited for no reason.
Dude,
I'm sorry,
I was like,
Bunny.
oh, this is gonna be a good conversation. Oh, it's okay.
But no, I'm a strong advocate for people being able to be gay. But like, see, like, if for people who think that that's not accepted, and if the Bible does say something against it, I think that's wrong, and would disagree with that. Like, that's how I think people should be
Like,
able to
you
be
would
gay.
disagree-
Or
Okay.
sorry, so I'm disagreeing with what people traditionalist Bibles, where like people are against people being gay and stuff.
Sure. So for me particularly,
Mhm.
I think that being gay and being married while being gay, like,
Mhm.
and to a man, like we're talking male relationships or female relationships,
Yeah.
or trans and male relationships, or however you want to think about that. I think that those are like okay.
Yeah.
And I can go through why I think this, but I think
From a
that's
human perspective, I completely agree with you.
sure.
From what I think the Bible says, I don't know. Like, I guess I haven't looked into it enough.
Theologically, I can go
Yeah,
I can go with this with you, but I think it's a boring
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and I think it's not one that our conversation needs right now. But what I will say is that, like,
You're scared. You're ducking. No, I'm just playing.
from the don't AMI me.
Bunny's gonna hang up right now.
I've said like maybe 50 words this entire time. So from the perspective of like a gay person being in church, it does suck because it there is a sense of like there is a sense of like I'm not welcomed here. Now I live in Florida, so my situation is a little bit different. I don't have like abundance of like gay churches or anything like that, or like people that even like me. However, noting that nobody in nobody in a very small percentage.
I'm sorry. I
Gay
think I
people-
hear someone's like TV or something.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
A very
Sad.
I think it's.
Hold on, let me turn that ad
Bunny
off.
a little bit, but sorry, that's the only. If it wasn't cutting off Bunny, I would have been fine with it. But I'm like,
No, I didn't even know that ad was like.
no, you're
playing.
good. You're good. Sorry, Bunny.
A very small percentage of gay people in the church like leave the church because of it, like traditionalist views. That most of the time they leave the church because of like whatever else is going on. And I think that's something worth pointing out, because a lot of people like assume like, oh, if the church just keeps going down like the traditional view, we're gonna lose all these gay people and blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, gay people are a little smarter than you give them credit for. Not that it would be dumb to leave the church for it, but they're not so what I would consider shallow.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not arguing that side. I think that the reason why gay people would leave, for example, would because like I don't know, you probably weren't here during this part, was so like a big argument with my family or like my dad and stuff. I grew up Christian Baptist, so like Southern Baptist. And the church that I was at the time, Obama was president. I live in a very conservative state, and the state of Nebraska. Yeah, fun stuff.
Oh, God bless.
God bless. And we went to church one day, and the pastor, he was talking about how with Obama's trying to pass gay marriage and, you know, like reading certain parts of the Bible and pointing it to why we need to vote against this and shut it down, and why the Bible is against gay marriage and gay relation and all that. And we left that place. We left it was the main pastor, but it was at like a sub. The church is very large, so it was at like a sub area. Like we're at like an off site. So we leave there. We're riding home with my parents, and my parents are like, "What a great sermon! Wasn't that so great, guys?" And I literally said to them, I said, "I don't want to talk about it because it will start a fight." That's the thing I said. Being mature, I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because it's going to start a fight. No, it won't start a fight. Let us know what you think. Let us know.
Oh, big mistake.
By the time we get home, I say, I think it's super bad that, you know, like they're controlling how people vote. First of all, like, I don't think that should be, like, it seems like the church is just trying to control. I think it's very inappropriate, and I disagree with the sentiment altogether about, you know, like the gay marriage stuff. Also just like arguing about, they disagreed with Obama being president in general, like, you know, because it's a, you know, a liberal president, stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to get into the whole race thing, but half the people probably disagree with that, like, which is really bad, you know, like it's just a Southern Baptist, you know, mostly
but
white.
But Obama's white. I'm joking.
Only you can say that. I'm joking. I will stay out of this. I remember a song saying, "My president is black, my Lambo is blue." So that's all I remember.
Yeah,
there's a rap song about that. Yeah,
I gotta find that song.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Funny.
It's a good song. But yeah, started a huge argument. My brother like agreed with me that it was like, you know, all bull crap, and like, you know, throwing furniture in our backyard, arguing about it. And I literally was like, this is why I didn't want to talk about it. Right. And I would say, like, you know, points like that, like especially when Obama was president, hearing so many sermons about like control and things that I vastly disagreed with on like a sense, kind of turned me away from religion for a long time. And I would say more recently I got into I wanted to get really into philosophy, and then theology it kind of stemmed into, because I think that's just what interested me. And in my head I'm like, this is one of the most important questions to ask, you know, whether it does lead me to the correct area or not. I think it's still a super important question to try to understand at the very least. And I have a daughter, so I think it's also, I don't know, like I want to tell her what at least I believe, like, but I also don't want to tell her believe what I believe, because I honestly don't know either. Like I want her to figure that out, like whatever she thinks is correct.
You know what's crazy? Because you said you didn't like a lot of that weird political messaging they were going for, which I completely agree with.
And that just initially turned me away, and like, you know, why I separated from the church for a while. It's not the only reason I don't believe.
No, of course not.
A lot of people try to attack. Like they're like,
no,
that's not no reason. That doesn't disprove a God. It's like, yeah, that's not what I'm arguing.
No, like you're simply saying it served as like a pivoting point. Like it's like a
Yeah,
factor.
like
It's
at least
not.
to turn
Yeah,
away
yeah.
from Christianity. Yeah,
It's
step away
crazy
from
though because
religion.
you said you were raised Southern Baptist, right?
Southern Baptist. Yeah,
You
my
know what's
grandma was
crazy?
Roman
You
Catholic.
know
So
why it's called Southern Baptist?
yeah,
Yeah, that's why I just thought that was funny. It's because the whole reason they split was over slavery back in the
yep.
Civil War.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just thought that was like crazy. So it's like the politics of it, and it's like, yo,
I mean, and
ironically
so
enough,
the
it's a
person
Southern
that we're going
Baptist
to
church.
church with, like the church that I went to was like they would display it on television in multiple states. Like it's a big church. Like it's
Oh
not
well,
it's not a mega church. It's not like those ones that's like donate tons of money here. I'm gonna like I'm gonna put these spells on you, or it's not like one of those mega churches that you see. But like it was a like
Um,
just in the thing, it's probably 300 people or something, 200 to 300 people, and then it's also displayed on TV in multiple states. So like a big church that is influencing a lot of people, which also feels horrible.
yeah, that
But
honestly, that's unfortunate in that situation.
yeah, and I didn't always go to like I went to smaller churches too, and that's not my only church experience. But
yeah, I I relate to a lot of that. Like
and
for
my
me,
brother-in-law also worked at this church for a while, and
oof,
felt that the leadership was. I guess I don't want to speak too much on his. Just yeah, let's just void. Let's just say things didn't work out. Things didn't work
It's
out at the church.
problematic, yeah.
Yeah. Where he even turned
I
away from like ministry, I guess, after a couple bad experiences. And even
I
he
get it.
said, so he went to school for student ministry and stuff to like teach younger generations. And he's still Christian, but even he's like afraid to talk to a lot of the people that he grew up that are more traditionalists,
I get
because
that.
he doesn't hold those same views, and he feels like it's like similar to like what I was saying, like coming out, that like you don't hold those same values that they do anymore, or you don't hold those same things that they do, and like your friendship almost feels like weird, like it's not the same. But
yeah, I can speak to a lot of that because I have come out to my family before.
yeah, 100%. And I'm sorry to keep using that. I'm not saying it's an equal. Like
No, it's all good. You get my
I'm
seal
in
of
the
approval.
strong
You can
belief
use
that I
it.
think like LGBTQ plus people were the worst, some of the worst, if not the worst, treated people in history. Like, and I know, unless you're just talking about like one genocide that happened or something, I think like people were being killed for that throughout history always. Like, so like, I don't know, like in my
I
mind.
think Black people take the forefront of that,
So
but
you say that.
I have bias. I was not gonna say anything.
No. And sorry, I'm not
I'll take
minimizing
second
anything.
place.
We're not minimizing anything. I'm saying these things are like all very, 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 very bad. I would say it's closer than you think, at least in the sense that today, if you lived in the Middle East, you would be murdered. And I'm sorry, like, and I know that sounds horrible, but it's just true. Like, they would not put up with that. Like, people can't. If you're a black person in the Middle East, you're probably fine. Like, and so yeah,
It's
I'm
some
not.
prejudice for sure.
Of course they're completely different things, and like we're comparing two very massive evils, but like we're talking about like all of history. I don't think, other than like maybe ancient Egypt where they're more liberal,
Well, yeah,
like,
like
and more
Greece,
accepting.
Rome, China. Like it just depends. Like ancient
Even
societies didn't view
like Greece and
sexuality the same
Rome, they
way.
would do it during like war, but I don't think you could come out as like gay, especially in like society. I think you'd still be murdered. I think all that stuff would
Well,
be
it
heavily
depends.
regulated.
Like they didn't have like a modern kind of interpretation of sexuality. So like for them, it's less about what your orientation is. It's more like, are you the dominant one, and things like that. They kind of viewed it a little differently.
True.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not minimizing slavery at all. Like, and I think black people have been
I
treated
get you.
very poorly throughout history in general too, just like through colonization and everything, and displacement and everything too, and slavery, of course. Like all that stuff, like horrible. But
No,
I would
I get
say
you. I mean,
it's at least
yeah.
no one thinks. Sorry, so everyone thinks like, oh, black people. I don't think people really think how at least the amount of gay people that have, like, the thing is, this is the thing is, you can hide being gay, you can't hide being
Being
black.
black.
So
Yeah.
that's a major difference for sure that I'm not really accounting either. But yeah, like, you're just not allowed to be the person you want to be, and probably, yeah, a lot of self deletions were happening throughout history because of that too.
Probably. I would
Sure.
say that a lot of that is especially true in like Abrahamic context.
Mhm.
Less so like it just varied everywhere else for
Yeah.
sure. Like in Buddhism, they do traditionally consider homosexuality sexual misconduct, but I don't think they really punished it like
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you guys think a lot more highly of like ancient civilization than I do. Like, I think they would murder people for like any reason. Like, if you think 200 years ago during the Wild West when Abraham Lincoln was president, people would kill each other for land and then pay a couple silver. Like, I don't think it's like,
No, I definitely think we're
I think
more
ancient
advanced today.
civilizations were
Yeah.
murdering people like crazy. Like, if
I
your
think I
son
don't know.
came
I
out
think
as
it
gay,
just
you're
like
like,
kind of
well, I'll make
depends.
another.
I think it kind of
That's
depends is
probably what
all.
people were thinking.
Because
Yeah.
like in some ways we're and probably overall I do agree that today we're probably morally more advanced overall, but like in some ways it just depends on the topic and period. I think you'd be surprised by how enlightened ancient people could be.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like for example, in ancient Egypt, like you even mentioned that they didn't even have like slavery. Women had pretty good rights. I don't really know how they treated gay people. I would
I mean,
suspect
women,
that it
yeah,
wasn't
women
really
still
as
don't have
like
rights over there though,
it
so I
probably
just
was
don't
some
know
sort
how.
of taboo around it, but I don't. I would imagine it's not
Yeah.
like you're gonna get executed for it. I don't think that would really be a big thing.
Yeah.
By the way,
I think
real
you, like I
quick,
said, I think you have
to
a
answer
higher.
your question on why
Yeah.
there's not a time limit on Gentile slavery, Yugi did partially answer that,
Mhm.
or answer that in the sense
Yeah,
that
Yugi did. Yeah.
most of it was dealing with internal social issues, like how do you deal with things as a society. But what's interesting is that it does say explicitly that you were to treat the foreigner with love and consideration because you were once strangers in
Yeah.
another land yourself, referring to Egypt. So the idea is that everyone in this society is supposed to be treated with like ethical consideration,
Yeah. Like I'm saying, so
even
even
foreigners.
with
So when it comes to
with
the
the
time limit on
mhm.
slavery in Leviticus 25, which is again the only passage that talks about it, it's not telling you what to do; it's giving permission, and it
Yeah.
literally says don't have fellow Hebrews as servants, but we know that they did that anyway because again, it's not giving a literal teaching;
Yeah.
it's giving an ideal, and it is saying ideally, if you really need extra help, you can hire foreigners who are fleeing from another country, and they can be they can be used like as workers. You can
Yeah.
shelter them and
For
house them, and in exchange they
but
work for
they're
you, and
like,
then
yeah, I guess
if you
I was
die
just
or
more
something,
saying it's
that's by the way when it's talking about handing them to your children,
yeah.
it's saying like if you were to die or something, they would
Yeah,
just
I
pass
guess
like their
I was
contract
just
would
more
pass
saying
them
it's weird
to the
that they
kids.
gave a timeline in
Now
general
at the end it
to
says
the
alam
Hebrews.
when it's talking about the
Yeah.
the where it says for life, alam can be different things though. It can mean indefinite, so it
Mhm.
can mean for as long as necessary as
Yeah, so
well. It
I'm
can
not.
mean
I
a
guess why did
lifetime. It can
he should have
mean
just not put a
uh
timeline on Hebrews?
for an
He
age.
should have
So
just
it's
said
like
the
it
same
has
thing for
different
everyone.
uses, but yeah, it's not saying that like your property for life. It's
Yeah,
the alarm can mean indefinite. So what you're doing with
yeah.
is someone that's fleeing from another country. That's why it's talking about them, in that context. And it's saying that it's giving you permission as an Israelite, you can hire this person. That's
Okay,
all it's saying.
so I guess all I'm saying though, if I said, "Hey Yugi, you're gonna
On
come be
that
my
topic, I'm not
servant
saying we
for
have to
10."
like just go back fully. I
Yeah,
was just answering your point from
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Why is there a
Sorry.
difference? The difference literally comes down to citizenship. One is a citizen,
Oh yeah, that's
so
basically
it's
what
giving
Yugi was saying.
more direct, idealized guidance, and then the other one is someone that's a refugee. So like it's a different it's, in the U.S. If you're an asylum seeker, right? Like we have a lot of things like with the border. Not to get too political, but
Yeah,
like you were saying, like if you're an asylum seeker from like I don't know, just for an example, Colombia, you don't have like the same exact treatment as an American citizen, but that doesn't mean that it's legal in the United States to treat these people with cruelty, right?
Yeah, so I just
So
think it's
if
weird
you're an
that
asylum
the
seeker, yeah, you're gonna have some rights, but it's gonna be a little
But
different
the
as well because like you don't have
omnipresent,
the same death
all-knowing
count or
God doesn't
citizenship
know.
rights because you're not a
no, he's
citizen
the
yet.
one
But
making
at
the
the same
law, though.
time,
You're
you are a
saying
human
like from
being,
a
you have
human to
human
human
rights,
standpoint.
and
I'm
there are
saying
some
God's
considerations
making
you
the
have.
law. It's not like the Israelites are making this law.
So hopefully that
I'm
answers your
The
question on that. And if
Israelites
you
are
want like
abiding to this
sources or
God
something,
law, so God
I
could have
don't know if
said,
you're in Yugi's like Discord or something, or if you have like
"No,
you can just
Yugi
like put your
uninvited me, removed
like
me.
socials or something in
He
the side
banned
chat or
me.
something,
fake
and I can
news.
send you some sources
I'm
that
not in
go
it
over some of the
anymore. I
stuff.
was in it."
No, dude,
Yugi,
my whole server got shut down. I'm gonna reset it
Oh,
Cleaned
later.
up?
see,
Yeah,
no, chocolate
Yugi
just
is not
exposed you.
above banning you for no reason.
I
He
know
banned
you.
you one
Chocolate just exposed you. He's
time
like, I
for
don't know
By
if
the
you're
way,
in
I
the
women.
can't hear
Discord
you
like I
guys like at
am.
all. Like this whole time, I
yeah,
haven't
you
heard
gotta
a
reset.
word, so
Hold on,
I'm
let
gonna
me
leave and rejoin.
ping him
Kick
in
him out.
private
Kick him
chat.
out.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. I was like,
Eh,
why is he?
Really over
I don't know if
talking.
he.
I'm
I
like,
don't
he
know if
really
he can
wants to get
still.
his
Yeah, look, I
point.
mean, I'm because we
I
gotta
guess
wrap
quick
up soon. Because I
response is like,
do.
yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead. I
I
gotta
just
wrap
think
up
it's.
soon because I do gotta go. But I want to hear what you gotta say.
I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say it's just the weird thing to me that it can be exactly what he's saying, is that they just gave a deadline to one side. That's just
Yep.
a weird thing to me. Like, which then it leads, just from a reading standpoint, that the other side did not get that same gratitude,
All
especially
right. Let
knowing that
me
they're going to get worse gratitude.
only
I
because
know
it's been
weird. It's
Did,
3
weird
did you
to
guys
say.
hours
hear anything
and I've
I
been
said, by the
yeah
way?
we heard everything
Oh,
you said.
okay,
You just
okay.
probably
I
didn't
couldn't
hear
hear
us.
Wait, you're
anything on my
talking?
end.
Very
Yeah.
important.
I
So
couldn't
this is
hear
what
anything.
this is what
I was like,
I'm gonna lay the hammer down real quick on you, Cameron, because yeah, enough's enough, bro. This is an argument from incredulity. You keep saying an omnipresent, all good God. I can't
Hey,
imagine. I
wait,
can't
wait.
imagine. I can't imagine.
Hey.
That's incredulity. That's not an argument.
No. We're gonna go somewhere a lot deeper. That your answers are insufficient. If you want to get into there, that I
Yeah,
think
sure.
you
How is it?
wouldn't know that an all good, all knowing God wouldn't have a reason for that. That seems equally
Dude, your whole
not answering
argument
anything.
for 3 hours is incredulity.
Wait, Bunny, what do you have to say?
Yeah.
Uh, d-
It's incredulity. It's just
What
I
I
can't
was going
imagine.
to say
on, bro.
beforehand
Anyway, go ahead.
has no bearing on the topic now. I was going to respond to your whole LGBTQ thing, but the moment's gone.
no, go for it. I mean, I was when I
please,
said about slavery, I
Oh,
was
well,
just
how about this? On some real stuff, because I actually have a bit of a contrasting opinion on that, but I think we can meet in the middle. Let's make it the next topic. And so
Okay.
put a pin on it, like LGBTQ.
okay.
Bunny
You bit
joins
the
in the
bullet
beginning of
good
next
because
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bunny. Well,
Um,
Bunny, at least write down notes and then.
But yeah, if you want to like say a quick sentence or something, or
Yeah.
if you want to like land a
I
point,
want to
I
hear Bunny
definitely
because they
give
weren't
you-
giving
No,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
for
we'll
sure.
leave it. We'll leave it for next week or next time, whenever this happens again. Come
All right.
tune in again next week.
Please.
Bunny,
But
if
what
you
I
guys
will,
want to
at
dig
least,
into a little
give
bit
us at
of
least like a feeder into it.
what I will say,
Mhm.
on the thing that Yugi was saying,
Mhm.
I do agree with his point. So I don't know the word that he was using, incredulity.
Yeah, it's an argument from incredulity. It's saying I can't imagine why someone would do X, therefore it's not congruent or cohesive or yeah.
Mhm.
So what I will say is that like I struggled with this point a lot when I was agnostic atheist. I know you're not agnostic.
a lot of
atheist.
you agnostic.
I'm just
atheists.
agnostic. I'm agnostic.
Okay, so I struggle with this point a lot. It is weird that a lot of things happen that seemingly an all good, all powerful God shouldn't allow. But that's why I kind of go back to the narrative thing, because it was something that helped me iron that out was, oh, this is a narrative. Like this is or it's something that God's doing for the greater good. Like you've probably heard Romans, what is it, Romans 3:23, something like that, Romans 3:28. I need to brush up on my scripture. God works all things for good. Like you hear that time and time again, but it doesn't actually hit you until you like make this line that like God has ironed out throughout time. It's rough that some things happen, sure, but how do you know that the all good, all powerful God that you can't conceive doing certain things, how do you know he's not just doing something greater or something better or making like a point after said horrible things are happening?
Yeah, so I guess so what I'm told from Christian faith, at least from what I know of it, you guys are telling me this is what a good God would do, like a lot of the morals and stuff, and then I'm basing the morals that you guys are laying out, or the church is laying out, or the Bible's laying out, or what you would say God is possibly laying out if you think it's the Word of God, and I think these aren't congruent with all good. That's what I'm seeing. So I'm comparing it to the, like, if you guys were giving me a map, and then I'm like, okay, well, here's all good up here, and I'm following the line. I'm like, wait, why is he going like here now, like away from all good?
Mhm.
No, but
Aside
Gavin,
from
every
We
slavery
are
and
giving you a
genocide,
map
what else
based
would
on the
you?
Bible.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, I was gonna get into that, guys. Every alternative you've given has been insufficient to show that it
Yeah,
would be better.
yeah. Like I'm not. Yeah,
Yeah, so you've said,
like
for
I'm not
example,
convinced either.
yeah, I remember.
Mhm.
Let me give you a point. One of the points you brought up was about pain, that we should get a notification in our brain instead of actually experience it. I'm
Not
inconvinced that
necessarily.
not
No,
necessarily.
sorry. So let's go in animals where they have the aesthetic, like anesthetic.
Okay, yes. All right. So let's use that. So you would say that
Mhm.
you think that God is somehow not good because he doesn't inject some or
All
has
good.
a system.
No,
Yeah,
not
he's
not
not all
not
good
good.
because
Not all good.
there's not a point in which whatever reason God needs to like install some sort of system into animals where they stop feeling pain at a certain point.
So
That's just called
my
shock.
so no. So what I'm saying is, there. You're saying nothing could be better. I'm saying there is obviously things that could be better without changing the outcome or the effect.
Yeah,
That's an
like
assumption, though.
yeah, guts.
No, you're good. I was just saying, like that's a huge assumption. Because
No,
I would
but
actually argue the opposite. I would argue that this is the best world to build towards a
so
better
what?
world.
Okay, so if you think this is the best world, do you believe?
No, to build
Intelli-
towards a
sorry,
better world.
sorry. Do you believe intelligent life lives on other planets or other worlds or other universes?
I mean, possibly, but I'm not saying that
I
it's
guess so.
the
The
best
question is,
world. Like
like?
literally, I'm saying
I
like to
guess,
build
do you
up
think
for.
it's more likely or not?
Do I think it's more likely? I mean, I kind of lean towards aliens probably existing. Sure.
Okay, so like intelligent life somewhere in the infinite universe, basically.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards that
Are
being a
they made
real
in
thing.
the same way that we are, like same way God,
I would
like in God's
if
form?
life exists outside of Earth, I would assume it is similar to us. Yeah,
They're accepted to heaven from God.
I would assume so. Yeah,
Are they going to have certain things that are different than us, or are we all experiencing pain and our experiences are very similar and congruent?
I
Do
would
they have animals
assume. I
suffering
would
pain?
assume that like yeah so like I would assume that they still have biology and things like we do, and they still experience a nervous system and they can't experience pain. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
what
you're
I would
just
kind of
saying that
assume.
has to be the idyllic, and how our world is going to be
So
how every world is,
what I
and how
was saying was
every
that
intelligent life is going to be exactly like us. Like, I guess I just disagree with that's just like,
no. I think you're missing it. So what I was
yeah,
saying was that this is the sort of ideal world to build from a better world. And what that means is that this world as it exists now is not the end goal. It's not the ideal, but it is
well, an
ideal
ideal
in the
world, I
sense that
think we
it
were
builds
talking
from.
about, would be a separate heaven that you just have a certain time span to accept God or not.
Well,
Like
I think
they
that's
do
what
have
this
free
is
will.
now.
They have free will. Heaven has free will. Like, you think it'll just be heaven eventually, or like
Yeah,
in
like
a
I
separate
think
heaven.
that's what we're living in now. So like I
So why
mean,
didn't
for
God just start with that? I guess would be a question.
I'm saying we have that now. Like I'm saying he did. I'm saying that the whole story of the Bible is literally the story of God of God teaching and being patient with humanity, learning essentially goodness and learning how
You're
to
saying this
obey
is
him and
heaven?
love.
Sorry, I'm a little confused.
Okay, this is what I'm saying, right? I'm saying
Hmm.
that the whole goal of the gospel, and I don't. Funny enough, the gospel starts in the Old Testament. It's not like some new thing, but the whole story of salvation is the kingdom of heaven restoring earth to what it was supposed to be and going beyond that. So, like, the whole idea is to return to Eden, but also progress beyond that. So that's why Jesus literally says the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Repent. The whole point is that hey, the world is off balance. It's not where it's supposed to be. Let's get it on track. So, like for example, I don't believe like our eternal destiny is to be like ghost in some ethereal realm, singing praises to God all day, no, I don't I don't think that's the case at all. I think that the goal is to build heaven into a spiritual utopia that honors the true God, and that we honor each other as well. We love each other as well.
Do you believe that all humans are saved, or all intelligent life saved?
So I don't believe all intelligent life is saved right now, but I think that eschatologically, meaning like end times wise, I believe that God will eventually
Yeah,
restore
like
all
of
people.
course
Yeah.
there's intelligent life after us that necessarily isn't saved, right? But do you think like in the end it will all be saved?
Yeah, I would say so.
You guys weren't here for a conversation. Interesting question. After Hades gets obliterated, does he just view nothingness
I don't. So I would say
or
Hades getting
experience nothingness?
obliterated. I would say like so in my view, and Bunny
Mhm.
can also speak to this. I would say
Hi.
that Hades.
I'm also here.
This is true. Actually, matter of fact, I want you to speak after me, if you don't mind, Cam. I want Bunny to also tell you what Bunny thinks about this, because
Yeah.
I would say that the obliteration of Hades is Hades being emptied, because the people
So
in
like
Hades eventually
experiences
repent.
nothingness.
No, like I like in the sense that the people in Hades repent. So like the people in
Sorry.
actually.
I meant the devil. Like so God.
Oh yeah.
I
So
was
so
gonna
I,
ask
I am one
you.
of the ones that would say
I was thinking
yeah.
of the
No, I would say
mythological
that,
Hades.
yes.
I thought Hades was another word for devil, but
In Greek mythology, wait,
yeah, I think
I
in
think in
Greek
Greek
mythology.
mythology it is.
Hades is kind of the devil in
Yeah,
Greek
What's his
sorry.
name?
mythology.
What's
Kinda.
the god of the underworld? I forgot.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Hades. It's
That
Hades.
would be Hades, but
Okay,
Hades
yeah.
isn't the god of death. The god of death is, I want to say Mori, but I don't think that's true.
Yeah, but I
Egypt
guess sorry.
exists.
Sorry. So, do you believe when the devil gets obliterated by God, is he seeing just like, or is he experiencing nothingness like an atheist would if they were to die if they were correct? Is that
Well,
the
I
same
don't
thing
I
happening
don't
to him?
I would say the devil, I would say Satan getting obliterated. It's just Satan repenting, and in repenting, he's restored, and so
Oh,
that
I mean,
Satan
that's an interesting
persona is
take.
destroyed. Yeah.
See, that's the thing that I think it's so hard to even argue against, because I think everyone's views are so vastly different, which I think is fine. But I also have the argument that I don't think every Christian even believes in the same God. Like, or
I
like
agree with you. Funny enough, I would agree.
they have the same general idea, but it's all different. Like everyone's perspective is going to be different. Everyone's ideas are going to be different.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
like
Like the
to argue
Calvinist
that
view
it's
is
all the same
different.
God,
Yeah.
like in the same sense that you guys are gonna have different arguments for, like why God might say, I don't know, like kill all the Canaanites. Like people are gonna have different
Hyperbole.
justification and anything. I mean, like anything in the Bible. Why how he loves might be different to someone than someone else. But yeah, so
I think the reason for human variation is related to a couple things, which is just like not everything is as apparent to some people as others, and I think human error. But also, I mean, go ahead and jump in, Bunny.
yeah.
So we can hear your thing again. That's
It might
I
be on
think that's
Yugi's.
Yugi.
that you. All right.
There we go.
So
Be
with
more
the,
assertive, by the way, Bunny. We want you to talk over us.
you're right. Everyone should shut the fuck up.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, no
um,
cussing on Yugi's stream.
Dang. Okay.
then,
Oh yeah, but in
um,
all seriousness, after Bunny talks, we will probably have to close up because it is midnight on a work night.
okay.
So I won't hear bunnies.
So on the, especially on the devil kind of being saved thing, I do think eventually the devil will be saved.
I think the revelation says he'll be obliterated, and I think Yugi's context was that he would be in like nothingness. He'd experience nothingness, but like I'm not saying that's the right view. I'm just
sure. I mean, we can talk
perspective.
about that some other day.
Yeah.
It's a little late to get into that.
I know,
because that's a whole thing as on its own.
No, I just thought it was an interesting take in the sense that Hades' ending is no different than a atheist ending in some ways. At least that's
in some ways. I think the devil has a much more interest in end or sorry, not a more interesting, a more complex end than the atheist's end or the unbeliever's end. Because on the unbeliever's end, I think there's reconciliation. I think there's God, working with the unbeliever to be like, hey, I'm the true way. Why don't you come my way? However he may do that. That's his choice. But like with the devil, that's a lot more difficult because the devil was with God pre everything. And then he falls, and then he tempts people, then he does all these bad things, or he goes against God in different ways.
And if you believe in the Dead Sea Scrolls, who was the tempter?
Usually I do. But
that might have been God.
But
the serpent, or Jesus, was it?
But assuming that he is a tempter, and assuming that he is a deceiver, and assuming that he is against God in the senses that we know, his end is a lot more complicated, and I think it takes a lot more time, and I think at the end of the day he's going to be the last one who's saved, because very romantically I think God works in very romantic ways where the devil is the start of sin, start of fall, and yet he will be the last one who is reconciled back to Christ. I do think that that's something that might and probably will happen, personally.
Yeah.
But we'll have
to but see, I like that ending better than
until next time on Dragon Ball. No, just
yeah, true. Well, the next time on Dragon Ball Z, I guess we're going to talk about gay people. I don't know.
I know we talked way too long for this to be a Dragon Ball Z episode.
No, this seems just around the actual time that Dragon Ball works.
I don't know if Yuki's going to rejoin to end his stream or not, but I guess
if he doesn't, then I guess
we can get him banned real quick if we really wanted to.
Get him banned. What's the worst thing that you can think of?
Everyone yell the worst thing they can think of. Yeah.
Pineapple blunts on pizza. I'm not very good at this.
I've seen the stuff that like South Park got banned for.
Pineapples
we can get Yugi in some really hot water.
It's true.
Pineapples belong in pizza.
Yeah, I told you I don't really care for the person that much. I'm not that.
Yeah, but also wasn't there like some streamer that like mentioned a cartel leader's name and was.
And he got popped. Yeah, I'm not that dumb.
People were coming after him, I think, and then he like was like deeply apologizing.
I mean, coming after me would be a critical mistake, but that's a different topic. That would be a very, very dumb choice.
All right, I'll give you the
cartel came after me. That would be really stupid.
Next time we'll shout out the names.
I didn't do anything about it.
I will say that to anybody. I'm really him. Okay, don't try me. That would not be smart.
Next time I'll give you all the names to call out.
Yeah, please. Any of them, dude. That would be so dumb. I'd be the last person. But look, on some real stuff, it was a good combo, man. I was obviously having a little fun with it, but I appreciate you joining again.
You can't bring that up at the last minute.
What?
You can't try to call me out at the last minute.
Listen, bro, you really are just being incredulous. It is what it is.
That's being a rude guess. No, because I can't even defend myself at that point. You're like, hey, last 5 minutes.
Well, you did say, you were like, look, I really can't imagine it, and your explanation is insufficient, right? That's where we're at right now. Is that fair?
Sorry, repeat it one more time.
That you're saying you can't imagine why God does X, and also our explanations have been insufficient, right?
Well, 1 second. Let me think about it.
All right.
I do think your explanations have been insufficient in the sense that I feel like the common answer is, well, you wouldn't know, or you couldn't know. And
right, they're unconvincing to you, right?
But I think that is the equivalent to the opposite argument that, yeah, you couldn't know, or you wouldn't be able to know. You can't prove it. And
yeah, like we've given like a postulated possibilities.
No, I can't necessarily give you sufficient evidence, and you can't give me sufficient evidence to change each other's minds. Like,
yeah, not infallibly, but we've given you, like, for example, like utility for why there's distinction between certain types of servants, right? We've given you arguments as to
Yeah,
why.
but they've also used a
Uh-huh.
different servant word in the Bible. I know that. I haven't gotten too much into
Yeah,
it.
we're talking about
for lack
etymology
of
though. I'm
time.
talking
It's
about
only a vet though.
yeah.
But
We're talking
also,
about we're talking about etymology of a word now. I'm saying
yeah, but
in
so I
terms
think the
of
thing that gets questionable is like you guys are saying change 5 of the words and then they mean different, and I wasn't even
yeah,
attacking. Sure, we take your translation, but I'm like, explain why these are so.
it can because you
There's
can
still
understand
issues with
sense
it.
uses of a word. You know that. You know understand that when someone says a
Yeah,
car's running, it doesn't mean that they're literally on legs. You know this. So just different like
They're
that's
I
what I'm
literally
saying.
didn't. I
Like
didn't disagree with that, but you're saying
Yo, that's a
5
good
different.
analogy.
You're saying every single word that people interpret is incorrect. Like I'm not the
that's
first
not what I'm
person to
saying. Now
think
you're
that.
hyper this is what I'm doing. You
No, no,
I'm
no,
trying
no,
to
no,
reel
no.
you in.
You changed
Maybe we
3
should
or
give him
4
space.
words to fit the narrative.
No, that's see now you're
Bro,
presuming intent. That's an appeal
No.
to intent. You don't know
you
my
don't
Sorry,
intent.
want to
sorry.
admit it
Not
because
that
we
you
gave him
necessarily
2 less
changed
reasons
them.
to be agnostic.
Sorry. You're saying the meaning
Yeah.
that you interpreted is correct only if you interpret these 5 words the way you interpreted them, and they
No, I
might be
never
the
said any
correct
of that.
way. No, I know you didn't say it that way, but I'm saying you might be interpreting these the correct way. Okay,
It
you
could
might
be.
have it exactly correct, but you have
But
one of those words
Can
wrong.
I
You have a big problem.
I understand. Yeah.
Do you see
Go
what
can
I'm
I
ahead.
can
saying?
I
That's
send
Like,
you a
is that not a
picture,
fair?
Yugi, real quick to show like
yeah.
just like the range of one of them? So here I'm gonna
Yeah.
how do I send it? Is there a way to like
Send it to me in DM and then I can
okay,
share
bet.
screen. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Get
look,
to the
It's
40
right
years
here.
old, actually.
But also,
He doesn't
I
know how to
wasn't
use
even trying to
technology.
attack it from that perspective. I was
no, I know.
attacking it from a different perspective because I'm saying I will give you benefit of the doubt that your guys' translation is 100% correct. But I said I have a problem with the years thing.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, dude.
So
I'm not
that's
even.
so I was
Mhm.
trying to give you guys benefit of the doubt that your translation's even correct. And I
I
think
got you.
if we attack it from a translation issue, that even if one word's incorrect translated, like where the Hebrews did mean slavery or ownership for eternity, like for life, for owning the children and the wife, and like, so I'm saying if we do have any, like, if you guys are wrong with any of this translation, then it's very bad. And so I'm saying that's a possibility.
It's a logical possibility, but I think in light of the evidence, it's
Yeah, but to say,
pretty
yeah,
improbable.
so I like that you said it's a logical possibility, but improbable. I'm saying in my mind, I feel like it's more probable that sorry, I'm not saying it's more probable that you guys are wrong. I'm saying, like, let's say even to me, it's a 50-50, like whether you guys are right or wrong. Like, I just don't know. But I'm saying I still have issues with it. That's what I'm saying. So even if
Even with the
you guys are right, I
years thing
still have
though,
issues with it.
do you have like, for example, like do you not think
I'm
that
saying,
like
sorry,
for example, don't you think that like American citizens have a different relation to like our
am I
residency in the
still here?
country?
Sorry.
Wait, hello?
Can you hear me? I can hear
Yeah, I
you.
can hear you now. I
Okay.
can hear you now.
So my thing's frozen, but so that's why I
No,
wasn't too
it's
sure.
been doing that to me too for some reason. But no,
Well,
I
I got
was
a
just
new
saying like
graphics card, so it has issues.
I'm on a phone and I don't like it acts weird on phones sometimes. But
My screen just black screen, so if I cut out, don't take it personal.
gotcha.
I've already taken it
Just
personal.
to keep it short though, and Yugi just had like the different uses of the word for by the way. See how it's like translated by, but here are the different uses of it.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Giving birth,
Mhm.
God claims create. Like, come on, this doesn't literally mean by, it's more so an acquisition of something. But anyways,
Yeah,
like I just think like surely you would agree that like probably like as an American citizen, or any citizen anywhere, you would have like different like rights or different things applied differently than how it would apply for like again like an asylum seeker, refugee, uh like I say this with like quotations, illegal immigrant, things like that. It's not that they're not human, it's not that they don't have human rights, but it's like things apply differently depending on your legal or citizenship status in a country. And ancient Israel is no different. It's not that slaves
yeah,
existed there. It's not that Gentile workers don't have an end of their contract. All it's saying
yeah.
is that it functions a little differently from them. So
Yeah, so I'm just saying. So I'm saying, even in giving you guys benefit of the doubt that all your translations are exactly correct, the absence of a date that this person can exit the contract, women, children, slash foreigners, is telling me, because you're agreeing that they would be treated worse than Hebrews. That it's
No, I'm
telling
disagreeing
me
with that. I'm saying the opposite. So like for
they
example,
wouldn't get, sorry. So just from the literal thing, sorry, not necessarily treated worse. Hebrews have a chance out. If you put a
they
date,
both do.
if so
I
when
know it's
reading,
frustrating. I know it's like
hey,
it's tedious,
if I said, hey Stan, you get to work for me for 6 years, and then you get to not be a servant anymore. And I said, hey Bunny, you're gonna be my servant, and I'm gonna pass you down to my children someday. What would
Alright.
be your interpretation of what Bunny gets to do? Did you think he gets to just leave? I'm saying, like, when you give an
I would
end
have.
date to someone and don't give an end date to someone else, you interpret that they're, especially when you're considering them as lesser than, like, because you're saying they're foreigners, they're not Hebrews, so you're considering them lesser than. So you would
Yeah, I mean,
interpret
not
it as they
necessarily.
have the worst case, or worse than the Hebrews at least. So it's worse than the 6 years at least, but not giving a date makes it seem there's no end date. Like that's just the like how I read it, at least the literacy side of it, and not clarifying that like that there's an end date, and also that you can be handed down through children. They specified that like, which I get that maybe that's not always the case, but it at least is sometimes the case.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying,
Like
but
even if it's
again, you're
99%
still
of
viewing it
them, they
as
get
like
free.
slavery, though. I think that's gonna just be the fundamental difference on it. I think, and
No,
I
I
also
said
think
even if you're locked into servitude for eternity, like your life,
no,
not
no, no,
eternity,
not.
but your life,
That's what I'm
it's
saying. Like I don't interpret it as like, oh, like this is like a lifelong commitment. I would more so interpret this as like refugees or people seeking new residency. I think they're sojourners. And so because of that, their situation is different than someone who's already living there. That's why I'm saying, like, that's why I keep comparing it to refugees today.
yeah. See,
Like
so I guess
asylum seekers are
the
different.
reason
Yeah.
I disagree is because I don't think those people held any power. Like
They didn't. They didn't. Just like
yeah.
an asylum seeker coming here doesn't
So
hold any
yeah,
power.
so I
They're
mean,
at
don't
the
hold any
mercy
power
of
to
the.
leave. Yeah, like
No,
they
no, no.
can't leave.
Well, it's like an asylum seeker coming to the U.S. You don't have any independent power in and of yourself. You're subject to the laws of the U.S. as it pertains to non-citizens. So it's
Yeah,
the
but you're
same for
talking
them.
individual ownership
No,
versus like
that's what I'm saying. They're not owned because
just
again,
abiding the laws.
well,
Well, no,
well,
sorry, no, it says owners owned, unless that's translated wrong.
it's poorly translated because it's not the same word. Okay, so it says as a possession, but the word for possession there isn't used of like owning, like say a car or something like that. And the reason why is because previously in Leviticus it says that God owns the land, but it'll call land property for people. It's talking about use rights, not like land outputs, like growing things on it, building things on it. You have a
So why is
use of the
it?
output.
Why can't they leave? Like, or why?
They can. That's what
Sorry.
I'm saying.
So why are Hebrews given an end date, but women and children who are born into like in the slavery system not given an end date, and neither are Hebrews, or sorry, neither are foreigners, but Hebrews are.
Because
But
so it
so
actually clarified that,
they
by the way,
are not owned, but they are in servitude until
indefinitely.
the master doesn't let them, or like lets them free.
No, so okay, so it's really this simple, right? When it's talking about people coming from foreign lands to work for you that you acquire as workers, they're not like it's not like today. Usually, if you're leaving a foreign land at that time, you're being outcasted or you're a refugee. So it's saying that this person is granting permission for Israelites to acquire and hire people, and it allows them to stay
I
in the
think
land for as
acquire is
long.
a good word.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I
Because I
can't
don't
take the
think it's
credit
all by
though.
free will. I don't think it's all by free will.
Well,
I would argue that
acquisition would be by free will though. So, like for
I think
example,
for
if I hire
Hebrews,
someone, I've
Hebrew to
acquired
Hebrew,
a
do
worker.
you think the women and children were free will? Like, hey, I want to be this servant for this person.
That's talking about for Hebrews though. So that okay. So like when it's saying that
No, women and children of
if the
any.
master provides a wife, that's
Mhm.
not a part of his
How
contract.
is
That's
he?
why they don't
Sorry. So how is he providing wives and
from his own
children?
household. From his own household, his like someone he's related to, like a daughter. So he's saying, hey, you work for me. I'll allow you. You can marry my daughter if she agrees.
Who
You
is a
guys can be
servant?
married. He's
She's a
a
servant.
servant, right?
No, is
No,
she
no,
a
he's a
servant?
servant. He's the servant. It doesn't say
So
that
doesn't
the
it go
women.
into ownership of the child in the like they stay
No,
when
no, no.
even if
Okay,
the
okay.
Hebrew
So
leaves?
this is a clan. This is like an older society. They go by, obviously it's a more traditional kinship system. So if your master provides you a wife, her contract doesn't necessarily end with yours. So it could
Wait,
be
she
his
has a
daughter.
contract?
She can have a contract, or he can provide you a wife from his own family. It could be either situation. In either situation, though,
I think
just
you're being
because
pretty
your contract
charitable
is
with
over,
them.
that doesn't
That's
mean that right. But the point is that just because it's his time to go, that doesn't mean that it's automatically. If it's the case that it's
they're
another
not given an
contracted
end time.
worker.
No, the women and
No,
children
well,
aren't
hold
given an
on,
end
hold
time.
on. It does clarify later, actually, in Deuteronomy, that women do have end contracts too. They have 6 years. It clarifies it later on. So
Hebrew
there
only
is
Hebrew women or all women?
all women, but it's again, it's giving internal regulations. Internal. So, like for example, in the U.S., when we see laws in the U.S., who's it directly orientated towards? American citizens. Does that mean that, like, if a British guy comes over here and he does a crime, he's not going to jail? Oh, that's an Australian accent. But if he does a crime, he's not going to jail. Of course, he's going to jail. But but it applies differently
So
because he's a non-citizen.
yeah, crime versus like,
or
hey,
or
you're gonna be
anything,
my servant.
like
Yeah, that's
like
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 saying
you
a
just
British guy
have
comes
slightly
over to
different
work and he's
rights.
like, I don't want to work for this person anymore. We're
He
like,
can
straight
leave.
to
He can.
jail.
No one's saying that he
But
can't leave. But
but
listen,
not
if
in
you
the
if you
dude, not in the
marry,
situation they
if
were in.
someone
No,
provides you a wife, right, and you're contracted, and so that's how long you're there. Look, you can agree to extend your contract so that way you can stay. If she's contracted too, you can stay and have a new contract until it ends.
so the children are in contract too.
Yeah. So that
That gets a little
depends.
weird.
All this
That
gets
depends.
handled by the judges, dude. We told you this, bruh.
Yeah,
This is
but who
true.
gets the power of the judges?
God appoints judges,
No,
and God is perfect. He can appoint perfect judges.
he's so
All right.
perfect.
Boom.
He created these rules to.
Base.
Yeah, and he appointed judges. It's called relations, dude. We talked about this earlier.
Literally.
Yeah, look, you
Yeah,
keep
there
if you
is
want God.
no.
Hold on, let me say this real
You're
quick now,
talking about
because
like
you're
the
gonna jump
biblical
around,
sense that there's
and
judges.
I want you
I'm
to stay
talking
on this
about the
point,
literal
Cam.
human judges that are judging
Yeah,
these
Cam,
people and freeing these people.
your idea of a good God is a God who imposes every single decision over you and is watching over your head. That's weird.
I can't
No,
Creepy.
stand that.
no,
I would rather die than live with that.
That's what I'm
no.
saying.
I think it's weird that we have a God that wants us or needs us to be devout to be able to make it to Him. I think that's a common
That's a different
belief.
topic now, though.
That's the
But when it comes to
opposite,
like,
by the way.
yeah, now you're switching topics. When it comes to like this idea of having a God who appoints us to regulate ourselves and to allow rightful judges to judge over situations, and if it's too complicated, he's there. I don't see how that's a better system than what you may posit as, well, he needs to be hyper pedantic about every single thing and specify it down to a T, and you can't do anything otherwise. Come on, man. Life is complicated, dude. You know that.
Based.
Life
Yeah.
is, yeah. It still just begs the question that you're saying. Yeah, we wouldn't know. I mean, I can't explain to you, but you can't explain to me. That's what it sounds like.
That's not what he said.
That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, look, when it
Okay,
comes to specific,
give me something to research.
okay, I got you.
Okay,
Research
like
specifically.
the question you want me to answer, or like the questions.
Well, the
or
main
what do you want
thing,
me to explain further? Like
no. It's the main thing. Maybe we can talk about it next time.
Mm-hmm.
Is this idea or this notion that the God that you would think is better is actually better in any capacity? That's a crazy burden to prove. I don't even want you to prove that, dude. You can't. Like, I wouldn't even ask that of you.
I would.
And he's still writing it down. Yo, you're funny, Cam.
Well, no.
I would.
All right, it's really late. I'm just gonna forget what you're saying.
No, you're good. How about this? Just research like the Near East outside of just Israel. That'll help a lot. Like, I can even recommend some reading material if you want. Like, so you can at least understand the cultural context in which God is talking and why he uses certain language.
You can prove that your God is better than other gods portrayed?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll do it hopefully
like
in another stream.
evidence?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
No other God ever sent his son to die for
ever?
the world. No God
that
sent
son
their
is
son
just...
to die for the world.
But
Facts.
who knows if that's the greatest sacrifice any god has ever made?
I know, but you just said
I
name
don't know.
one thing that makes
Actually,
him
wait.
better.
I've watched the Hercules movies before. Zeus did send his son to.
To die for the world.
Who do you think they got
He
that
died for a
from?
girl.
Who do
He
you
was
think they
dying
got that from?
That's what I'm
They
saying, bro.
stole it, bro.
Yeah,
What?
like look,
Wait, Hercules was prior to the Bible, right?
and so let me get
Zeus
this.
and
Even
Sin
if it
was prior to the
was,
Bible.
is it like that you have faith in him and that your sins are forgiven? Because that's not true.
Yeah,
Oh
and
no,
the
I
movie
think Zeus
definitely
was
is
just as
after.
wrathful as the Old Testament God.
Like I already researched
That's
this. I'm
probably
telling you,
pretty.
every single pantheon of gods, what they would, if you wanted to atone, you would have to either like sacrifice someone or
If the
something.
current religions didn't exist, would there be different religions in
You're moving the goal,
place?
bro. Cam, you should work for like FIFA because you move the goalposts really good, man.
Real.
You keep moving it.
He would
Stick
make
to
a
the
great
topic real quick.
CNN.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Like for real. Like just let's stick to this, and then I'll
No,
let you
because
have the last
So
word.
your question is the God I think is better than, or sorry. So can I
You said
think
name.
of a better
Listen,
God than the Christian God?
you
Like
said
is
yeah.
something
Like
an
name
ideal?
something
Can I
that makes
create
him better. Could I prove that? And I proved it with Jesus. It's already been proved. I didn't even prove it. He proved it himself. He kept his promise.
a God that's better than the God that you guys believe in is one that does not condone slavery from the get-go.
Not this again.
That's what I think a better God would do.
All right. I'm gonna let you get to the last word because we got to wrap up, and then I'm gonna let Guts and Bunny if you got any last words. Go ahead, Cam, if you want to say anything because I got to wrap up.
I just want to say thank you to Lola, Stan, and Bunny for coming on to talk. Yugi, as always.
Of course, man. Of course.
And I appreciate you guys' insight. I don't appreciate Yugi bringing up all these hard-hitting stuff right at the end when I'm like half asleep. But,
I'll believe me. I'll remember. Guts, you got anything, brother, before we wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, it's been great talking to you, bro. I did watch some of you guys' last podcast. I gotta get it when I get a chance. I'm gonna finish. I only got a glimpse of the first one. I gotta finish that one, but yeah, it's been great talking, and I appreciate your conversation. It's been fun, and I hope to come back up here some other time when you guys are talking, if you guys want. So yeah, it's been fun.
Absolutely.
Quick before Bunny wraps up, I do want to say my arguments today were the weaker points. Like it's like kind of like the end of the rope stuff that I just wanted to question you on.
To be fair, it is part 3.
Like we're on part 3, so watch the first 2 too.
Yeah. We'll keep it pushing, and by all means, I'm totally okay with like revisiting these topics. Go ahead, Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun talking with you for about combined number of 40 seconds, you and I.
I know, I'm sorry, Bunny, and I'm a freaking yapper.
It's okay. I look forward to maybe talking about LGBTQ people in the church sometime.
Is that because you're gay? No, I'm just playing.
Absolutely, it is.
Chocolate, all you did was talk about slavery the whole time.
Hey, that's because I'm black. I have that, privilege.
Let the man talk about the homosexuality.
But I look forward to having another discussion with you, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, me too, man. Hey, sorry, is that your preferred pronoun too? I don't want to be.
She, her.
It's
She,
too
her.
late.
I apologize.
You already misgendered.
Yep. Go ahead and send him to the chopping block. You're cooked.
Real.
I'm sorry.
Report him to like leftist. What's that Discord?
We'll let God judge me.
Yeah. All right,
which
folks.
one?
Thanks. Yeah. Which
sorry,
one?
Bunny. I'll remember that for next time.
It's okay.
All right, folks. So thanks for watching. Cam, Guns, Bunny, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by, actually. And everybody else watching, please drop a like if you enjoy. Look forward to the next one, which will be announced later this week. And yeah, that's it for us, man. I got to wrap up. Have a good one.
Yeah.
You have a good one.
Bye.
All right. See ya.